Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's a Crime. Thank you so much for being here tonight on a Friday night and hanging out. Today, we are going to go through the preliminary hearing of Letecia Stauch and in the Gannon Stauch case. Now, it was yesterday. That would be Thursday, September 9th. They were supposed to do it today, but they finished early. So I had spent all day basically yesterday watching the tweets, and I want to give a shout out especially to Spencer Wilson and also to Colette Bordelon and also Lauren Scharf. I basically gathered all their tweets and put it into the information for tonight. So this may be a long one tonight, depending on how detailed I get. And check out the Gannon nails, the blue. I did that yesterday or the other day. So many of you may have seen yesterday and the tweets and on the information, and a lot of you haven't. So I'd like to go through that tonight. I'm going to caution you in one area, well, a couple areas, that it's pretty difficult to hear. I blubbered like a baby yesterday. There's no way I would have been on camera. And I can't even imagine what the family's going through. And so before I get into it, you guys are going to realize or find out why, besides the obvious. What else? Keep it classy here in tonight as well. I mean, you guys are great. And, you know, if you want to do a couple pot shots at Letecia, I'm okay with that. You know how I feel. Definitely some trigger warnings. Thank you, Mimi, for saying that. I will give you the heads up too when I'm going to get to that point. So we have a lot to go through. You know how I like to be very detailed, so it's going to be detailed. And what else, you guys? I think that's it. Hit subscribe if you haven't done so already, and make sure to check out my Gannon Stauch playlist. I have over 60 videos, I believe it was. It was one of the very, very first videos, or the first cases, I should say, that I covered. This is near and dear to my heart. And I mean, everybody too, as well. We all wanted Gannon to come home, and he didn't. So Manglia says, missed you, my friend, needed a mental break. Cases are hard. Yeah, I think we all needed one. Thank you so much. So I'm going to go through parts of the preliminary. I'm going to stop and then we'll, read some questions or whatnot. I don't want to stop every 5 seconds because then obviously that gets annoying, but at the same time, I don't want to ignore you. And also heads up, I have you guys I have my notes on a different tab. So I'm just going to scoot you actually over here so I can see you. I make sure that's there. And then I'll have my notes, okay? I'm a little rusty. It's been a while since I've been on, but I'm excited to see all of you. I see we're climbing in numbers here, so I just got to put that up. Why not? Okay, so I have a bunch of other notes as well. We're going to go and we're going to get into it. I'm just starting, yes. All right, so yesterday, preliminary hearing on Thursday, September 9th. And in true Letecia style, drama already started from the get-go. And I had wondered why it was so quiet. I mean, typically when it's quiet, we see a lot of ridiculousness from Letecia, right? I mean, but the last couple of months have been pretty quiet. And I thought, there's going to be something that comes up, but she made it to the preliminary without any drama. But I do realize now that she was saving it up for yesterday morning. So the morning opens up with the judge, and he says there's not going to be any emotional outbursts. People who try to disrupt the process are going to get kicked out. And Letecia wasn't present in the courtroom, so that was a problem. She was shown on WebEx from the jail, but a huge problem. She's expected to be in the courtroom. This is the preliminary hearing, so there's some confusion. But Letecia didn't want to show up in court, so her attorneys appeared on her behalf. She has Josh Tellini and Will Cook representing her. And the district attorney, Michael Allen, objects and asks for Letecia to be there in person. He says, he's going to have a harder time. She's supposed to be there, and it's important. And Josh Tellini says he doesn't understand what the argument is from the DA. This is not a case where eyewitness identification is key. And Tellini says, and I quote, "She's the same Letecia Stauch as she has always been." And isn't that the truth? No surprise from Letecia. Same Letecia. He says he still wants to go forward with the preliminary hearing, and Mr. Tellini says, while Ms. Stauch wishes to have her preliminary hearing, she does not wish to be present for it. So the judge mulls it over a little bit, says he hasn't made a decision on whether or not she can actually do that. He mulls it over. Apparently there was a motion. I didn't see it. I looked for it. I didn't see it made public, but apparently there was. Now, by waiving this, she wouldn't be allowed to watch the hearing. So the judge says, you understand that even if you aren't here at the hearing, it will still take place. She says, yes, sir. Judge says, they'll still present evidence. She says, yes, sir. I have confidence in my defense counsel. Judge says, they're going to submit evidence. Don't you want to hear that or see that? She says, I have faith in my attorneys. I have trust in Mr. Tellini and Mr. Cook. So District Attorney Allen says Letecia's refusing to be transported and that it isn't due to COVID. She just didn't want to go. And he states that by Letecia not showing up, it should be grounds to move this straight to trial without proceeding with the preliminary. He said the defendant's presence is required at every critical stage and her absence waives her right to a preliminary hearing. But Mr. Tellini responds and says that doesn't constitute a waiver of the evidentiary process and doesn't understand how this decision makes it more difficult in the prosecution. I have words on that, and I'm sure you guys do too. Mr. Tellini responds, and then the judge says, well, in this case, Stauch is saying she wants the hearing to go forward, but doesn't want to be present for it. He says they'll proceed with the day and said, I've had those cases where a defendant doesn't show up. She did virtually. He also agreed it was a bit of uncharted territory because, you know, Letecia does whatever Letecia does. That's my words. So he explained that to Letecia that it could change the bail situation, and she says she doesn't care. Judge asked, are you sure? Yes, sir. Have you had some time to think about it? About a year. Now, just a side note, remember when Letecia represented herself not long ago and she said that her counsel was, you know, not proper, they weren't adequate or whatever her reasoning was. She thought that she could do a better job. In fact, she said she had, you know, the ace in the hole. Her words, she says, it might sound audacious, but this is from before. It might sound audacious, but I'm really good at poker, and you know what the saying is, you gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them. I've got the winning hand, an ace in the hole. So the judge says he believes Letecia has waived her appearance, but in this case, she wants the proceedings to go forward, but just not be here for it, as I mentioned. She is represented by counsel here and clearly said she did not want to waive the hearing themselves, so we'll keep the preliminary. Now, in my opinion, you guys let me know as well. I think she should have been there. She should have sat through that. What, you gonna cower it out now? Right? Gannon's loved ones had to sit through what I'm about to explain next, and it was absolutely horrific. Absolutely horrific. And she's gonna be able to just sit back and hang out on at her cell like any other day. Oh, lunch. Oh, dinner. And not be able to sit, and not sit in there. I think that's a bunch of BS. Let me know that in the comments right there. It's BS. I say hell no. Like, you know what, Letecia? You sit and listen and watch what everyone else had to. You don't get to cower it out now. This is your preliminary hearing that you should be sitting, and you sit and listen to what you allegedly did to sweet 11-year-old little Gannon, who, by the way, would have turned 13 years old at the end of this month, but that was taken away from him. So I don't know the luxury of not showing up. End rant, almost. Now, also in the preliminary hearing, or at the end, they wanted to address her attempted escape. She has a charge on that. Remember when she measured herself to fit through the window of the jail and she bribed another inmate to get a broomstick and help her escape, and she was going to pay her money, and the inmate told on her. Basically, she was charged on it. So more later on in this live. And like Mr. Tellini says, she's the same Letecia she's always been. So let's see what you guys are saying before I get to that. And such a crock of you-know-what, right? Yeah. She should have been made to attend. Absolutely 100% agree. I 100% agree. It's just, but you know what? It's like you're surprised, but you're not surprised, right? Unbelievable. Okay, so now let's just recap quickly about the timeline, I guess, just a tiny timeline before I get into the details. Gannon was reported as a runaway on Monday, January 27, 2020, by Letecia in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Gannon's dad, Al, was out of town in Oklahoma for training for the National Guard. And I believe, and I got to double check this, I believe Gannon's grandma, as I recall, was visiting the week before this all happened. And she and Al went to Denver, I believe, and then flew out from there. So I got to double check on that one, but I do remember something like that. Gannon's sister, Lena, was in school that day that Gannon was reported missing or as a runaway. And Gannon's stepsister, Harley, was at work. Now, Letecia called in Monday morning to Gannon's school for his absence. She texted into the new school and she called in for his absence, and then she texted in the new school she was working at. She was just hired at, and a couple of days later she was fired at. And she tells them through text that she's not going to be in because her stepdad was killed after being hit by a car. So she couldn't make it in. And then after 2 months of searching for Gannon, minus Letecia, because she didn't search, she said, search, where am I going to search? Gannon was found on March 17th, and there's conflicting because I have March 18th as well, but he was found in Pace, Florida, and it's approximately 1,380 miles away. I'm going to give you a little visual of this. I want you to show you this. So Colorado Springs, okay, all the way in Florida, over 20 hours away, and 1,375 miles plus, give or take, because it's not the exact location right now on this map of where Gannon was actually found. So let's just give you a little idea of that, okay? Let's get you back into the comments. Okay. So, Letecia's charges, she was charged with 2 counts of murder. I know a lot of you are asking, what's the 2 counts of murder? One is first-degree murder, and the other one is the first-degree murder for a child under 12 years old. She was charged with tampering with a deceased human body, tampering with physical evidence, and 8 counts of crime of violence. We'll get into that. And now, remember, Letecia is eligible for the death penalty, okay? This crime occurred before they abolished the death penalty in Colorado, and that was in July of 2020. So she is still eligible, but it has not been announced, okay? So still eligible. And the arrest affidavit, when they wrote that, that was before Gannon was found. So Gannon was found that 17th, 18th, and forgive me because there's 2 conflicting reports and I have to sift through a lot of stuff. But she was arrested on March 2nd, I believe. So this was written before Gannon was found. Now back to the court. The first witness takes the stand. His name is Jason Yoder, and he's a sergeant with the Major Crimes Division for the Santa Rosa Sheriff's Office in Florida. And remember, as I said, that's where Gannon was found. Now, Sergeant Yoder was on duty when they got a call about finding a body under the bridge in a brown suitcase in March. It was found by bridge inspectors, and then they called 911. Now, here's where the disclaimer comes in. This next portion may be upsetting to you. It's probably going to be upsetting to you. So just a word of warning, okay? In court, they started off with what happened to Gannon. And as I said, I had an extremely hard time when I first heard it. And there was a lot of tears and sobbing. And I'm not even the family or the friends. So it's tough. But it's necessary in court. They didn't hold back. And Letecia should have been there to hear it. Now, on March 17th is what they said in court. The bridge inspectors were doing a routine check of the Escambia, forgive me on that, Floridians, if that's what you say, the Escambia River Bridge. And it's a two-way bridge that's separated between the eastbound and westbound lanes. There's an emergency pull-out lane as well. Now, if you are standing in the pull-out lane and looking down, you would be able to see the suitcase. The DA asked, if you looked right down from the bridge, would it be where the suitcase was found? Yoder says, yes, sir. Would that indicate it was dropped? Yes, sir. And Sergeant Yoder said the suitcase would be on the eastbound lane going away from Pensacola. He said this is a frequently traveled bridge, and if you're traveling on the bridge at night, you wouldn't know that there's water under it. He said it's heavily trafficked during the day, but didn't think so at night. And they were discussing which side of the road someone would have to be on in order to dump the suitcase. The DA asked Yoder how a person would get access to the side of the bridge, and he said it would be really hard to cross over the river from the other side. So the workers that day were looking around at the west side of the bridge while walking under it. They found a brown suitcase. They pulled it open. They dragged it. And they opened it up, and then they emptied what was inside the suitcase. And then they called 911. And that brown suitcase is the same suitcase that was reported missing at the Stauch residence back in January when Gannon was reported a runaway. Al noticed it was gone. And when Sergeant Yoder arrived on scene, he saw a suitcase opened and a body wrapped in blankets. Also in the suitcase was a pillow with shark pattern on it. And when Yoder was asked about the body, he said it appeared to be that of a child, a small child. And that suitcase had made an impression on the ground from the drop and where it was believed that the suitcase landed. And remember, because the workers pulled the suitcase as well, right? So there was an impression and then they dragged it. The question was, what's the distance between where the suitcase is and the impression is? And they said it was 6 to 8 feet. And in court, they showed the picture of Gannon wrapped up in blankets laying next to the suitcase. And it was, I can't even talk about that part. So I can't. Okay, bear with me, okay? Because this is not easy. So Gannon was wrapped in blankets, and you could see his hairline peeking out. And he was in the fetal position. Okay. So the sergeant said that they could tell it was a male child based on what he was wearing, and he figured the child was between 9 and 13 years old. Now, no, Gannon weighed 90 pounds and was 4'9", I believe. It was 4'8", 4'9". The medical examiner arrived on scene, and then Gannon went in for an autopsy. Now, there was also 2 projectiles found in the pillow. So in total, in the suitcase was Gannon, 2 blankets, one of which was a comforter with the sharks on it that matched the pillow, and also inside of the pillow were the 2 projectiles in it. All had blood stains in it, and Yoder said he saw 2 holes in the pillow and no exit holes. Authorities then checked local records for missing kids and didn't find anything statewide in Florida, but nationally they did. Sergeant Yoder said a flyer was brought to my attention of a missing Colorado child. And DA Allen said, was that a flyer for Gannon Stauch? And he said, yes, sir. There were similarities between the picture and the actual body, dental features, height, weight, approximate age. Yoder said, we first thought it was him because of the gap in his teeth and 2 large front teeth. And The DA asked if it was unusual for a body to be found from another state. Mr. Tellini objected, but the judge overruled, and Sergeant Yoder said, "No, sir, that's not normal." Now, through DNA, Gannon was identified, and the autopsy was completed, and then they contacted the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Sergeant Yoder stated he's never seen a body from another state in his jurisdiction. The forensic pathologist, her name was Dr. Susan Ignacio. She performed the autopsy and stated it was severely decomposed. And Sergeant Yoder saw injuries to the body. And he noted he had a fractured skull, a gunshot to the lower left jaw. He was stabbed to the chest and the back, and cuts on his arms and his hands. Now, the cuts would be defensive wounds and 18 sharp force wounds, it was said. Now, it's awful. I know. I should probably check on you guys here for a second. Just take a breath. Whew. Okay. Okay. You're doing okay? Okay, just checking in. Okay. The projectile was recovered from his skull, and that was sent to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. And during the X-ray, they found the 2 projectiles which were in that pillow. Then Mr. Tellini came and he cross-examined Sergeant Yoder. He asked him how far from the ground is the bridge, in which he stated it was 80 to 100 feet. And Mr. Tellini asked about the lacerations on Gannon's hands, and Sergeant Yoder said, "I don't remember them to be all that deep." Tellini asks, "Other cuts, how deep are those?" Yoder says, "I don't remember." Tellini asks, did she say it would have been enough to be fatal, meaning the forensic pathologist? Yoder says it had to have been a contributing factor, but not the most. Tellini asked if the skull fracture could have been from the suitcase going over the bridge, and Yoder said she did not say either way. And as for the gunshot wound, the coroner stated that it would have been fatal in itself. And it was, they said that it wasn't muzzle to flesh, is their words, with the gun, but it would be close when the person fired. Otherwise, there would have been indicators on the body with marking or burns from gunpowder. But the Dr. Ignacio indicated the cause of death was a gunshot wound with blunt force trauma to the head. Sergeant Yoder estimated the body was in the suitcase for around a month, which matches the timeline based on the decomposition and other fluids that leaked through the suitcase. Okay, I'm checking in. I'm just taking a little breath here for a second, Okay. Yes, defensive wounds. He fought hard. Yep. Thank you, Kirby. Okay, we're taking a little breather. It is terrible. Okay. Here we go. And we'll talk about that a little bit more too as well. But it's unbelievable. And to think that Gannon was fighting for his life was just awful. Okay. Okay, I gotta keep it together. I gotta keep going. Okay. Second witness goes up. His name's Kevin Clark. He's with the Colorado Springs Department as a senior analyst. He was requested to support the investigation on February 1st, 5 days into the investigation. He has experience with collecting cell phone data and GPS data. He talked about the Telematics, which is the system installed in a car and gives timestamps and also locations. He says dropping breadcrumbs, which can be retrieved later. So they start off with a map in court from the morning of Tuesday, January 28th, 2020. And that's basically the next morning after Gannon was reported runaway. That's also the day, this Tuesday, January 28th, that prosecutors believe that Gannon was killed. They show Letecia, they show Letecia's Volkswagen Tiguan and her telematics. It shows the route that the Tiguan took to the Colorado Springs airport that morning. Letecia headed there to pick Al up, and Gannon's dad, as we know, and her husband at the time. So here's where we get into a little bit of the timestamps. At 8:13 in the morning, a neighbor's home camera is seen the Tiguan leave their home in Lorson Ranch, Colorado Springs. She heads to the airport to pick up Al, and the car travels westbound, then north on Powers, and arrives at the airport at 8:20. She parks her car, and 10 minutes later, she's seen going in alone to the Avis car rental location. But earlier that morning at 7 a.m., before she left to pick up Al, she searched cheap rental cars, Colorado Springs, and rented a Kia Rio for that day, a white one. She picks up Al, and then they drive home. Now, she tells Al, according to the arrest affidavit, that she's concerned about putting mileage on her Tiguan, and she doesn't provide the correct location as to where her Tiguan is. She tells Al that it's at a school. So just to reiterate now, the Tiguan stays at the airport. This is important because according to the arrest affidavit, Gannon was in the trunk of that car. So he's now at the airport in the suitcase in her vehicle. She goes and picks up Al, and then with a rental, and then goes home. So the Kia Rio is seen arriving back at the Stauch residence. Kevin Clark says AT&T towers can back up this route that was taken, which matches the data to the car. So the Tiguan would spend all day at that airport parking lot until later that evening when Letecia returns at 7 p.m. and picks up her Tiguan. The map shows that she traveled from the airport to the Falcon area. Now, I have a visual, so I'll show you that right here, okay? So she goes from the Colorado Springs airport to this Falcon area. Letecia's cell phone records match her car telematics. The DA asked, is it common for people to have their cell phones on them all the time? Kevin Clark answers yes. Letecia arrives at the Falcon area at around 7:27 p.m. She then stops at a parking lot for around 30 minutes in the area near Woodman and McLaughlin Road. And in the Falcon area, she decides to put her phone in airplane mode. And doing so, that cuts ties with all cell phone networks. Only Wi-Fi connections would connect from that point on. So she's taken a little page out. I guess that would mean actually Barry took a little page out of Letecia's book, but Letecia puts her phone in airplane mode. So this area was also searched by the investigators. They searched dumpsters and video around this area, and they focused on the telematics. Since the phone is in airplane mode, they didn't find anything of evidentiary value. They didn't find any evidence. But it reminds me of Bear. So she stops, at 7:56 p.m., so 7:30 she's at Falcon. 7:56, investigators believe that she went west on Woodman according to her car data. She stops in a parking lot at Rangewood and Woodman, but found nothing in the search, and she stops 10 minutes there, but nothing's really found by detectives. And then by 8:18, so, 15 minutes later from where she was at Falcon, she goes west on Woodman. And then she goes northbound on I-25, and then she gets onto Highway 105 and travels eastbound. Let me show you that too, because visuals sure help, don't they? She goes, let me just double check here. I have it written, but then I have a couple. Okay, so she goes to this I-25, and then she goes into this northbound I-25, so she comes from the bottom, you can't see it. Then she goes to this East Highway 105, and then she comes back, and she ends up to this little subdivision off Lake Woodmore Drive. And then she goes back from there and goes into she goes around and searches around the neighborhood. And there's arrows on this map in court, and they're going all over the place in the exhibit because Letecia is just driving around a new housing development, and she finally exits the development another 10 minutes later, 10 to 15 minutes she spent around that area. And the cell phone is still in airplane mode. So then after that, she goes for another little drive. Now she's deciding to go, let me get this here. Okay, so from there, that Lake Woodmore, she decides to go north and travels, northbound on I-25, and then zips off a 105. That should have been 105. So my little clip didn't work there. She actually goes down this 105 because he's just south of that towards that, I believe. Yeah. Well, it says, no, I'm right. Okay, sorry, guys. Long day. I've been doing this since 6 a.m. She merges onto I-25 off of 105, travels northbound, then exits onto County Line Road, which is the one you see there up top. And she travels westbound until it meets with 105. Okay, that's correct. And then travels northbound on 105. And the most northern point you see there is Douglas County. That is where the S curve is, where you saw a lot of the searchers searching, and detectives were there, and there was a lot of that. So that's the well-known S curve. They were sifting through snow there as well. So now here's where it gets interesting, because Letecia's vehicle traveled this road and then doubles back from northbound to southbound. And it was dark out. That was the question posed. Is the area dark out, pretty rural? Answers yes, plus it's winter. And there was a 5 to 6 minute discrepancy between when Letecia traveled northbound and then southbound on that road. It took Letecia 6 minutes longer to get through the curve the second time. So this is where, it piqued their interest. So Letecia leaves that area, it's called the Palmer Lake area, travels east on County Line, and then merges onto I-25 and then goes down to Briargate. Okay, so she goes from that area, you can see up top left is the S curve, as I said, and then she goes east, and then she drops down and heads south to Briargate. Now, Letecia's phone at this point has been on airplane mode for 2 hours. But at 9:51 p.m., she is back online at a Hilton Inn. And she connects to the Starbucks there for an hour. Let's get me back on there. Okay. So now she's able to get texts, emails, voicemails, etc. And the DA asked if you would have to manually connect to these locations. And Kevin Clark says he can't prove that she didn't auto-connect, but knows she did connect. He says Letecia was also looking up Amber Alerts and checking Ring doorbell video. Now, I got to go through the arrest affidavit, and I'm sure you're going to see several videos anyways on this from me now that we got some more information. I like to put it together, but the Ring doorbell video, I believe she was talking to Harley that night because she was home, and you'll see what else she did that night. But I think that was the night where she was listening on her Ring doorbell. You know, when you ring the doorbell, like my security does the same thing, that you can actually talk to somebody through that. I think she was doing that and pressing like to hear it. I got to double check, so don't quote me on that. If I had more time, I would have dove into that, but I probably will anyways, and you'll probably see another video on that. So Kevin Clark says she's talking with her daughter Harley during that hour, and Harley was 17 at the time and lived in the house. And they didn't mention what those messages were that they chatted about in that hour, but I'm sure we'll hear that at trial. And Harley, like I said, was home at the time, and she then leaves home and goes to Massage Envy, which is actually where Harley works, but she goes there to pick Letecia up. Now, she goes on another goose chase, okay? She goes back down the I-25, exits to Garden of the Gods, turns east on Austin Bluffs, travels back to Woodman. She goes all over the place and then ends up at Massage Envy. So again, I know it's harder to illustrate on a live stream, so I'm sure I'm going to show you in a different video. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So you can see up top is Briargate, where she connected and she chatted with Harley. Then she zips down and then she heads this way to go to Garden of the Gods, and then she heads east, and then she gets to Massage Envy. So she's all over the place that night. She's doing all kinds of things. Okay. So the last data point for her car is 11:30 p.m. at Massage Envy. Harley picks Letecia up in her VW Jetta and they leave. They get home at 1:23 a.m. So that's almost a 2-hour difference. Now, I did do videos on a lot of this timeline. You can check it out in the playlist. After this live stream, once it processes, I'll do it in the description box below. So if you're rewatching this, you'll know, or I'll hit it the card or something like that up there. But I go through and talk about this and go through the timeline, but there's some extra bits in here that we know now. So the Tiguan stays in the parking lot. Harley goes and picks Letecia up. But Harley had to work the next morning. That's the Wednesday, the 29th of January. And so she brings Letecia back to her vehicle, to the Tiguan. And Harley also, and then Harley actually had her car and phone taken, and so did Letecia. But before that, Letecia went to the sheriff's office, and the police noted that Letecia's car was wet from going, they noted it was wet. She went through a car wash. A lot like how Barry said they went to the car wash, right? It'd be interesting to see what her reasoning was for that. Barry said that he went through the car wash to wash the windshield. So Friday, January 31st, there's another car involved. It's a Nissan Altima, which was rented by Letecia's aunt, and Letecia had access to that vehicle. We saw that on camera or Spencer did, when he did the interview with Letecia. You remember the one where she had her back turned, her head turned? It was so ridiculous, in my opinion. So investigators, though, put a GPS tracker on that rental car and were watching her whereabouts. So they were already wondering what the heck's going on with her. So now there's more movement on this Friday the 31st by Letecia. She does a little more traveling after her interview. So she finishes her interview with Gannon, and now she takes the Nissan, the aunt's rental, and heads back to the location north of Colorado Springs, there at that S-curve that I was talking about, at 4 p.m. on Friday. And the GPS captures it there at 4:41 p.m. Now, in court, they showed a side-by-side comparison of the telematics from the Tiguan on the 28th and the Nissan on the January 31st, which the map shows the two cars essentially in the same location. So that gave the detectives the heads up. They said it took some time, obviously, to gather this information, but they had to look at a larger area at the time until all this info came in, right? So once they received more data, they were able to focus on that S-curve on Perry Park Road, and with those two visits on the 2 different days, they were able to narrow it down. So while searching in February, though, they found an important piece of evidence, and that was the board with Gannon's DNA on it. Now, there was something way back there. You remember when Letecia was actually explaining her way through things? She's like, oh, the blood in the garage. Oh, that's because Gannon liked to do woodworking, right? And then, oh yeah, the sock that flew out of the truck, that was because, that could have flown out of the truck. They found, it was said that there was a sock found, and I got to review the arrest affidavit, but I know there was a sock. They said a sock and the board, and she was making excuses, and she made excuses why she was heading north. She said she was heading north so that she could look for a gift for Al, blah, 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 freaking blah. So, in my opinion. So on February 1st, the next day, so January 31st, she rents the Nissan Altima, or the aunt does. She takes it to the S-curve. And then on February 1st, she rents a budget van, early in the morning. She also purchases a Verizon cell phone on the way to Florida, and she bought it in Trinidad, Colorado. And investigators have surveillance video and financial information and cell phone data as evidence on the route to Florida. Harley is traveling with Letecia in the van. That was an eye-opener because everyone was wondering, obviously, how the heck did Gannon get to Florida? But we had wondered, where was Harley? Did she go with the other family members, or was she with Letecia? So that was a little bit of an eye-opener. I'm going to just double check how you guys are doing in here. Yeah, so she was on the road. I can't help it when it comes to Letecia. Blah, blah, freaking blah. Okay, I can't help it. Yeah. One check. Charlotte says, I see you, Charlotte. I'm going to just pull this up for a sec. She says he never had a chance. He would not have realized someone he trusted was going to harm him. And I keep picturing him so confused with what is happening. It's completely heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. Maniacal. Just, yeah. Thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate it. All right, so we're going to keep going, okay? So she rents the van, she buys the phone, and they also, so Harley was traveling with her, and they checked toll roads and plate data were also included as evidence, okay? So based on their evidence as well from Letecia's phone, there was a hotel reservation that was made at around 11:46 p.m. on the night of Monday, February 3rd. So that's, and it was, that'd be a couple days, right? So this would be 1 week after Gannon was killed. She goes in and to Florida. So just after midnight on February 4th, they arrive in Pensacola, Florida. Now, I told you earlier, it's about a 20 plus hour drive and 1,375 miles, give or take, because I didn't do exactly to where the hotel is for this video. So on February 24th, this is interesting. Just after midnight, Letecia and Harley check in to the Candlewood Suites Hotel where Letecia rented the room. And the hotel is 3.3 miles from where Gannon was found. Now, interesting, the guest information says that Letecia's address is in South Carolina. 4:15, so 4 hours later, Letecia's location pinged close to the bridge where Gannon was found. She stayed just a matter of hours, basically. Gannon was found and her phone was pinged where the bridge was, and then she headed to Orlando and then South Carolina. So there's something that I've been thinking about in the last day, since now we know Harley's with Letecia. And I know she was 17 at the time. Okay, I don't know the full details. We're going to get that. I'm surprised there wasn't more a little bit, but we'll get them. But I have one question that's been circulating in my mind. A suitcase with a 90-pound child in it, plus 2 blankets and a pillow, it's not light. And I did ages ago in my membership, I did a video with a suitcase and I put 90 pounds in it and I pulled it up the stairs just as a demonstration. And for one person to pick up that suitcase and throw it over the bridge, it's not easy. So I don't know the answer here, but I do know I have a lot of questions. Well, you know, I'll let you guys ask the question, but I don't know. I'm very concerned about that. Now, here's another interesting bit. February 4th is when she checked out of that hotel, right? Well, here's where we connect a major dot. And I want to thank Megan. I'm going to give a shout out to Megan. You know who you are. She helped me with this date because I was trying to find it everywhere. Between February 4th and February 5th, Letecia changes her profile on Facebook. And she changes it to a little video clip of Gannon in Hawaii with his sister. And he waves and goes and turns and jumps into the water off the dock. Okay, this is the most disgusting human behavior. And even back then, people were outraged. And Landon, Gannon's mom, was as well. She made a statement about it. She said, like, you know, like, well, I mean, what else that is that? I mean, anyway, I'm just flabbergasted at it. It was disgusting. So you can see now that timeline matches up to when she discarded him like he was trash, and then goes and takes it and just flips the profile like a waving goodbye. How evil can you be? How evil. This reminds me of Chad Daybell in the Daybell case, and how Chad decided to text after that he shot a raccoon and he burned the limb debris, which Tylee Ryan was dismembered and burned, and he put it in the pet cemetery, which is where she was found. It's the same thing. It's psychotic. Okay, I digress on that one. I'll let you guys get mad all you want. You have free reign in there. Very demented, exactly. Okay, so here we go. The next witness on the stand. His name's Patrick Youngkin, and he is a sergeant at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. He was the third officer on scene at the home responding to a runaway child. The 911 call came in at 6:55 p.m. on Monday, January 27th. He searched the home for Gannon. And the sergeant says that runaways are given a non-emergency priority level, saying that they had several other calls at the time. What else? At around 10:09 p.m., he responds to a reported runaway juvenile. Now, I do wonder if you guys let me know in the comments below. I wonder if Letecia knew about this piece of info, about a runaway, you know, reporting a runaway versus a missing child. I do wonder. I feel like she did, but you guys let me know what you think, because she reports him as a runaway, not a missing child, which I think it just buys her time. What do you guys think? So the sergeant spoke to Letecia twice, once in the attached garage and another time in the lower level of the home, and his body-worn camera was on. He searched bedrooms, closets, and an attached garage. He opens closets, as I said, checks showers, shines a flashlight in the bedrooms and under the beds. All the while you can hear Letecia chatting it up in the background. And reports from the preliminary from yesterday, it was noted that Letecia talked a lot that night. But she says something, and it was quoted, "I took the covers he was laying in, daughter was out, and dog was out." I would love to know more in depth of what was actually said. She was asked, did he take his bike? No, unless he did earlier, she says. And then she's said that someone saw him on his bike with a Nintendo Switch. Now, the Nintendo Switch, from my understanding, has never been recovered. Officer asks if he can look around. She says, oh, sure, she says. So there's another conversation in the background. At some point, it was said that you can hear Letecia say that his stomach hurt and he was going to a friend's house to play video games. She said she doesn't know the exact time she left. Now, remember the night before, there was that whole candle burning incident that she talked about. There was a horrific video, again, of Gannon, which Letecia posted because she thought in her mind it was going to get her off of why all this and that. She was in her mind, in her twisted mind. And then we saw it and we're like, oh my God. I couldn't even, I only saw it once. I can't even see that video. I only saw it once. I can't do it. And at the end, he was crying. And at the end, he said, I'm bleeding. It was terrible. So back to the sergeant. He goes and shines the light in the garage. And Letecia walks in the garage and she says her ID may be in the car. Now, which is interesting because earlier on in the day, she drove Al's truck Monday. She rode around in house truck. So it's interesting that her ID would be in there if she was driving the truck, which we know she was driving the truck. So the sergeant says, did you have this car today? And she said, yes, no, I didn't drive it today. She gets the ID out and got nervous, it was said. So the sergeant opens the back of Letecia's car and he points his flashlight in it, but doesn't open it. And the suitcase is said to have been seen in there. He closes the back of the car as well because he was looking in there too as well. And in the arrest affidavit, it claims that Letecia put Gannon in the trunk of the car. So Sergeant opens the back seat, the back door, says Gannon's never hidden in there before. He looks around the garage a bit more and he doesn't ever go into that trunk and open the suitcase or whatever else was in there, it's tough. Okay, so he continues the search of the house. He goes down to what is the basement, which is where Gannon's room is, and Harley's as well. He looks inside of a storage room with a water heater. There's laundry baskets there, tons of cardboard boxes, it said. They go into Gannon's room, and Sergeant looks in the closet under the beds and walks out. And also, the DA asks, is there anything like blood obvious at this point? He says, no. Any indication anything violent occurred? He says, no. Letecia at some point comes down, says she has a box cutter somewhere down there. She's laughing, saying she must have put it away. And she says that Gannon dropped the candle the night before. She tries to explain why the box cutter was there, and she says she covered up the candle with carpet, pulling it back to show them. Now, as I said, there was that candle incident, and she said a candle burned the carpet, which numerous people who were following this case, they debunked that theory of dropping the candle, and because they did that and the candle doesn't burn the carpet. So she said something about one of the moms coming over that they hang out with all the time, and a bunch of people came over. Letecia then picks up Gannon's wallet and says he forgets to bring this or bring that, she says. And she says she teaches 5th grade and knows some very mature kids, and she says that Gannon's not super mature. He's 11. Anyway, he asks, how long have you guys lived here? She said, maybe like a year or something now. And you've talked to all of his friends? And she says she doesn't talk to his friends, and her husband has all the numbers, and I don't know the people like that. And Al had been checking on the neighbors. She says, we've already talked to a few people at school. There's a game there tonight, so maybe he went to the basketball game. And Letecia says that his switch was gone, as I said. She says some lady online messenger with a picture of Gannon holding a game console. She says the picture was in Lorson Ranch. Where or when was the picture taken, was asked. I don't know. I have a lot of messages on Facebook right now. She gives a description of Gannon, saying he's very pale with whitish color skin. His hair and eyes are brown, and he's very pale. Now, one of the things that was interesting in one of the screenshots, there was a neighbor who stated that Letecia typically always said to her, what's going on at the household and with the kids. And when Gannon first was reported missing, that Letecia said nothing to her. She thought that was very odd. I guess we all know now why. She said that, Letecia said that Gannon was wearing a blue jacket, like a windbreaker, and blue jeans. She said it's best to call Al, who was in Oklahoma. She says, as far as medical dental, he will have all that stuff he takes with him on base. And she joked when she was asked if Gannon had any tattoos or earrings. And then the court heard Harley over the camera. And Letecia says, Harley, did you get it? And Harley answers, yep. Now, I wonder what this is in reference to, because earlier that day at 4:52 p.m., Letecia asked Harley to go to the store and grab her some baking soda, carpet powder, and trash bags. And in the arrest affidavit, it's believed that Letecia used these products to clean the carpet. And this now is later at night on the body cam. So I'm curious now, what did she go and get? Because this isn't said from my recollection in the arrest affidavit. What do you guys think? I'm going to go here. Missing in Life says, is it wrong if I feel that she needs to go through everything she put him through, the fear and all, then live through it to serve her sentence? That poor baby boy. I can understand what you're saying. I tell you, there's so many expletives that came out of my mouth yesterday. I seriously need a whole year's worth of soap. So, hey, Christmas gift, you guys, if you're wondering, any type of soap from Bath and Body Works, make sure at least it smells a little good. But my mouth, seriously, from yesterday, should have been washed out. I said so many swear words yesterday, out loud by myself. It was deserved, but it was foul. It was foul. Okay. Shelby says she's not human at all. I'm just joking after, right? No big deal. Interesting day. And then, okay. So I'm curious about those two things, or that thing. So the sergeant said that there's no indication that something violent occurred in the home. He said if he had thought so, they probably would have locked down the house, called the investigative unit. He said in the garage, it was dark. So the sergeant saw a lot of wood and woodworking equipment in there, but it's too bad he didn't open that suitcase, like I said. The question was, if you did see something, what would you have done? And I explained that. He says, lock down the house, call for backup. No indication anything violent happened in the garage. No. Did you find a suitcase in the car? I did not know if there was a suitcase in the vehicle. I did use my flashlight to see in the car. You didn't see anything suspicious? No. Did you find any type of suitcase in the Volkswagen? I don't know if there was a suitcase or not in there specifically. Did the interior lights of the VW come on? I don't recall if the interior lights came on, but I did utilize my flashlight. And then the deputies leave the home, and it's the end of the video. So thank you, LM. She says, I love your work, Linda. Thank you so much. Okay, so gonna keep that up. So now in court during the redirect, he says while executing the search warrant a few days later, circumstances had changed. They're now looking for trace evidence. He says, when I was inside the garage, I found what appeared to be a red liquid substance. He found it on the garage floor and on the stairs of the garage. The liquid was dry by that time. Now, I mentioned this a little earlier tonight, but Letecia said the reason why there was blood found in the garage was because Gannon did some woodworking in there, and she explained everything. Same thing with there was blood found on the back of the Tiguan, and she said, Gannon was tying his shoe or something dumb, and it's just like explanation upon explanation. It was so dumb. She got a bandage, and he was all better after that. Same Letecia. Right, Mr. Tellini? Same Letecia. Now, the next witness comes on the stand, and his name is Lieutenant John Sarkisian, also of the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. He ran command for search efforts for Gannon. He talked about how many resources they used, including planes, horses, four-wheelers, drones, dogs, snow poles, and parks and wildlife sonar submarine device. They had anywhere from 20 to 100 searchers, depending on the day. And he said they started the search near the home. They branched out from there. They went to Fountain Creek and then finally Palmer Lake up north and that South Perry Park Road, the S-curve, like I said. And the lieutenant said, knowing that area, it's pretty heavily wooded up there. That was notable for detectives. On February 15th, he said while searching, there was a snow berm about 7 to 8 feet tall. The dog alerted on an area and they checked the spot. As he moved up into the trees, he noticed a flat board. He estimates the board was about 2 feet long. He believed it had blood on it. He tipped it up and put it back down. He said he barely moved it. And there were multiple footprints noted around the board. And the lieutenant says he does not believe the footprints were documented, however, but that would have been up to the FBI. And about the board, the lieutenant said it didn't appear to be moved at all because the snow wasn't broken, but the board had blood on it. And he says, just from my training experience over the years, I believed it was blood on the board. And The stain was tested and came back as Gannon's blood. Then Mr. Tellini gets up for cross-examination and he asks, was that the first time the dogs made an alert? The lieutenant says, not sure. He says, how many dogs? Not sure, depends on the day. And Tellini says, if you report the board was found on the 15th of February and they had dogs in the area for 2 weeks, he says, I'd have to look at the data. So when the lieutenant saw the board, he said he lifted the edge and then said, ooh, that looks like blood, and set it down again. And the question was asked, ideally, you wouldn't have moved it before taking a photo, and the answer was true. Tellini says, besides blood, any ties to the Stauch home? Not that I'm aware of. And then he was asked again about the board, if it was big enough to pull a body out on it. He says, no idea. The question again was, but not long enough to hold on each side with the body on top? And the reply was, I guess. So Tellini's pointing out that the board was too small to carry a body. But remember, that suitcase was in the back of the car, and she would have had that suitcase on the board. So his point isn't really a point, because he's saying to have the body on the board and then shift it, but it was the suitcase, right? So he didn't really have a point, in my opinion. Let me know. So they confirmed in the redirect that it snowed several times in the area since Gannon went missing. I mean, it was February and it's Colorado. Then in court, the DA said that they would actually be finished for that day and didn't need to continue that next day, and they could bring Letecia back. So the judge said he'd appreciate it, but felt that trying to get Letecia back on WebEx wouldn't be a quick option, and he said no harm pushing to the next day. So the next witness came up, and his name is Sergeant Rosario Hubble with El Paso County Sheriff's Office, and he took the stand. He's been in the office for 14 years. He works with major crimes, and the major crimes unit investigates missing persons and child runaways. Sergeant Hubble says that those are handled differently than a homicide case. He monitors all the detectives. He said he's not out there himself, but he's collecting their data and sorting it. He has an overview of the case as it unfolds. And in January, he was assigned as the sergeant of that major crimes unit. So Gannon's case obviously eventually turned into a homicide case, and Sergeant Hubble had access to Letecia's phone, where there were 2 pictures showing Gannon in his bed in his bedroom. And that was in the leaked arrest affidavit that we saw way back. She got arrested in March 2020. So the pictures were taken on Monday, January 27th. The sheets were off the bed and the morning light is peeking through, is what was reported. So on January 27th at 8:14 a.m., the photo shows Gannon laying in bed, and the photo was taken from the bedroom entrance. And at 8:17 a.m., 3 minutes later, another photo was shown of Gannon laying in bed from a different angle, which is at the foot of the bed. And shown in the picture is the shark bedding and pillow that we talked about earlier in the Florida location, and they compare the bedding. The pattern on the pillow is consistent. They said the pattern on the pillow is consistent with the photos from the suitcase. It's apparent we are looking at the same bedding. So the bedding you got from Florida are consistent with the bedding in these photos? Yes. So if we just think about that for a minute, Letecia was the last person to see Gannon. And those blankets, she took a picture and those blankets were there and later were not there and were found with Gannon. So who took the blankets? Aguardo? The sergeant was asked, based on the photo, is Gannon alive in this photo at 8:15 this morning? Yes, he looks alive. No major wounds that I can see. The DA asks, do you recall in the body camera footage if the bedding was there? It was not. So the bedding was changed? It appears so. So at some time during that day, before the officers arrived that night, the bedding was changed. And earlier on the body cam footage, she said something about the blankets. Remember, I said, oh yeah, I took the blankets. So interesting. I wonder what the reasoning there was. Okay, let's go over here for just a second. Kim Griffin says, they should do the same to her. I followed this case from day one, cried a lot over this case. My heart aches for him and what she put him through. Agreed. Thank you so much, Kim. It's hard. It's hard on this one, especially the details. I feel the same way, to be honest. You sit in there, first of all, sit in there in the courtroom, and then you get what you give. Allegedly. Okay. Now, on February 3rd, the El Paso County Sheriffs went back and they had moved to a homicide investigation. As I said, it was shifted. They brought the Metro Crime Lab and they were concerned that there was foul play and they were looking for blood evidence. So they went to the house looking for Gannon's blood. And up until that time, they collected Letecia's Nike shoes, which belonged to Letecia. In the affidavit, it talked about her shoes and said they checked inside of the shoe and it was Letecia's DNA and the outside had Gannon's blood on it. The sole area of the right shoe was swabbed where you see dark coloration. It came back positive for blood and the DNA profile matched. So the blood on the bottom of the right shoe belonged to Gannon. It did. And so then they brought out tools with the luminol, the blue star they called it, to do a presumptive test for blood. In low light, blue star is sprayed and then glows when it hits blood right away. It also picks up on iron or rust or cleaning agents, but that's a slow illumination. If it lights up right off the bat, the blood is likely the culprit. Also, it helps them identify areas that have been cleaned. Hubble compares the glow to glow-in-the-dark stars in kids' bedrooms. Hubble now points out to the corner of Gannon's room with a blood stain there. Gannon's bed was removed and the carpet was ripped up where his bed was located. The stain in the corner went through all the layers of the carpet all the way to the concrete floor. And the blood was tested from that stain and it came back as positive for Gannon's blood. There was also yellow tape on the walls, and he said those areas inside the yellow are blood spatter marks. And there were quite a few. It was reported there was more than 10. And I got to refer to the affidavit to find out exactly. We could do that later if you want. They said, Sergeant Hubble said, the stain saturated the carpet and the pad and went directly to the concrete. He tells the DA, he says, before this carpet was pulled, there was no visible blood. Hubble tells the DA it was clear the carpet had been cleaned, but the padding under it and the cement underneath was not. Now remember, she sent Harley to go get the carpet powder, the trash bags, and what else was it? And the baking soda or whatever it was. The stuff to clean it. It went more in depth in the rest affidavit. They were even talking about finding stuff like cleaning things in the dishwasher, etc. Okay, so Hubble tells the DA it was clear the carpet had been cleaned, but the padding underneath it and the cement underneath was not. He said the carpet was matted and crusty. The carpet was stiff to the touch. I asked my guys to look into it and we peeled it back. Then there was a photo of Gannon's mattress and an electrical outlet on the wall as well. The edge of the mattress is stained with blood and came back as a match to Gannon's. The DA says, did you notice a pattern of blood throughout the house? Hubble says, yes, it started in the garage, went to the laundry room, hits also led to the hallway. Then the living room followed downstairs, more hits past the basement, family room through storage room to Gannon's room. It was like all over the place, all the way to the garage. So in one of my previous videos, I do one about the ADT security and then match that up about all the different things where the doors open and what would have happened and the time frame she would have done it in. Sergeant Hubble said we were able to actually follow a trail, and he believes that the beginning of the trail was the stain under Gannon's bed. The outlet also had Gannon's blood on it, and it matched Gannon, as I said. They showed another picture, showed wooden steps with the throw rug at the bottom of the stairs, which led to the garage. Area was tested, got some presumptive positive hits on the stairs. And it said any other, positive for Gannon's DNA, it's his blood. The question was asked, any other blood in the garage or on the lumber? And they said, yes, there were three planks of lumber laid out. Luminol hit on the carpet and on the wood itself. Not large hits, but droplets of spatter. Did you see evidence from the Blue Star analysis that there were attempts to clean things up? Yes. Some were slower hits, not as bright or dark. It slowly develops, like in the hallway from the laundry area, that slowly over time developed. Large oval shapes, 2 to 3 feet. When we went into the basement, one of the stairs had a long strip go off. Slow developers, which tells us they were likely someone scrubbing back and forth. They then showed the master bedroom, which was Al and Letecia's. So this is interesting as well. Let me just check on you guys, make sure you guys are okay. Okay. The question was asked, so they're back now they're at the master bedroom. That's Al and Letecia's bedroom. They talked about a gun. The question was asked, was a gun recovered from this room? Answer, yes. Hubble points to the gun on the top of a nightstand. There was a close-up of a handgun, the exhibit 39, and it said top down. It's a 9mm Smith & Wesson. Also in the corner, it stated that there was a photo of Gannon sitting on the nightstand. DNA matches Letecia Stauch from the backstrap and trigger guard. Al's DNA was also found, but the major profile was Letecia's. Hubble was starting to explain the specifics of the gun, and then Mr. Tellini stands up. He objects and says he's not an expert in guns. The judge overrules it, says he's just giving the understanding of the evidence, not claiming to be an expert. So they sent the 3 projectiles. Remember, there was 2 in the pillow and 1 from Gannon. They sent it to the Santa Rosa Sheriff's Office. And they said Hubble says that they believe that the 9mm gun was used to fire the rounds collected in Florida. And the one recovered from Gannon was consistent with that firearm. They said, our firearm experts believe those bullets were from this firearm. The bullet pulled from his head, was this from the firearm? That was the question asked, and the answer, yes. Then there was cross-examination, and they asked about where the DNA swabs were done on the gun. They said 3 people hit on that DNA. 2 of them were male. And he says, that's right. So the defense says there was a mixture of DNA on the gun. Presumably, he says you have 3 different individual DNA on that gun, 2 males and 1 female. So Letecia, an unknown male, and Al. But the major profile comes from Letecia. So the defense also says there were also 4 people detected on the laser site, and the answer is I believe. Everything was sent to CODIS, which is the DNA database, and there were no significant hits from it. Then they talked about, back to the luminol, what is that makes Blue Star glow? He says, I don't know the exact process. And the defense says it can hit on cleaning or iron or blood. And he said, right. And defense says, do you know if Blue Star is reacting to the iron in blood? He says, I know that if it hits, we're going to test it. It's just a presumptive test. What makes cleaning supplies glow? He says, you will have to ask our people. I don't know how it works, just that it does. And so 6 people were said to be there during the Blue Star search. You're talking, okay, so then let me just check where I'm at here. The defense asked how long it takes to develop. It says you need to have low light conditions for a Blue Star reaction to be visible. He knows the presumptive positive hits don't last very long. Hubble says long hits last about 30 to 45 minutes for cleaning hits and 15 to 30 for positive hits for blood. Hubble says there was an issue with one of the cameras, though, when they were using it during the visit. They said that it was an issue with the aperture settings, which controls how bright the photo is on the camera. And at some point, the camera crapped out and they started doing hand-drawn diagrams. The question was asked, couldn't you have used a camera phone? And he said, the other text can explain that. There's a particular exposure that needs to happen. He describes the low light photos with a delayed exposure speed, and that's how they get the dark, well-lit photos. He says, so it's a special camera then? He says, yes, expensive lens. I don't know how to operate it. If we had the lights on and used Blue Star here and there was blood, could I see it? And he says, lights need to be off, so no. So then back to Gannon's room. With the naked eye, Sergeant Hubble said you couldn't see the blood on the carpet. However, he said the stain on the cement, you could visibly see there was no agent added to it. It soaked right through. The defense is asking if the red blood spatter had been changed chemically with a testing agent and looked different in the photo. He said, no, that's just the blood. And then this was interesting. There was some worry that the sergeant contaminated the scene. He says, the defense says, there was some worry you contaminated the scene in Gannon's room. And he says, yes, I touched the carpet with an ungloved hand. And the defense says there's a lot in the report about it. He says, yes, I wanted to own up to that, make sure that my guys could learn from it. And if my DNA showed up, that's why. He says, defense says, so you're concerned with not wearing gloves that you could be adding DNA to evidence? He says, that is my concern, yes. So you contaminated the scene? That was my concern, yes. And then it was noted that Sergeant Hubble did wear gloves when he was handling the gun. Okay, we're checking in before I continue. I know this is long. Okay. All right, we're going to keep going. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. I know it's a hard thing to hear, but it's important, and justice has to come. So we just got to keep going. All right, next, the Special Agent Andrew Cohen with the FBI was next. He is the lead case agent on Gannon's investigation with the FBI. He's been there since 2014, and he acted in a supporting role for the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. They helped with searches, additional investigators, and expertise for Gannon. Sorry, I'm trying to read, and some of these have hashtags on it. So the Agent Cohen, said there was no evidence that Al was involved in his disappearance. He said he was in the National Guard training in Oklahoma, and he returned to Colorado on January 28th. Cohen says he knows Gannon's family, and he was asked, is it normal to look at a victim's family after a homicide? Answer is yes, but no evidence Al was involved. Said he wasn't even in Colorado, he was in Oklahoma. And so he said, did you verify through other means? Yes, his flight and video show that's the case. Letecia Stauch, he says, was the only adult responsible for the care of those children. And in a case like this, would it be typical to look at closely associated people as potential suspects? The answer is absolutely. And then Agent Cohen said there is also no evidence indicating Landon or Lena, who's Gannon's sister, was involved in Gannon's death, and she was 8 years old at the time. Cohen says he is also familiar with Landon. The question was, no evidence she was involved? Answer, no. Cohen says he knows who Harley Hunt is as well. That's Leticia's daughter. And the question is, do we know she was home at the time of the alleged murder? She was not. Did she go to work? Yes, around 8. So she went to work, Lena went to school, and right after that, that's when Letecia took pictures of Gannon, and then the rest happened. Harley went into work at around 8 a.m. on January 27th, and like I said, okay, so I talked about the pictures. So the time of the photographs, the only people in the house were Gannon and Letecia, and probably imaginary Eduardo. When you're finished with this case or before, you need to go have a full body massage, then come home and let Calgon or Bath and Body take you away. Don't forget the lights need to be down. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I actually, if you must know, I actually pulled my back yesterday again. and doing nothing special but sitting, and I pulled it again, and it took me 2 months, a couple months ago, to get better. And so that is much appreciated. Thank you so much. I think I will take you up on that massage and the light slow and Calgon or Bath and Body Works for the soap in my mouth for swearing. All right, we'll keep going. Let me just take a sip here. All right. Where were we? Okay, we're talking about Harley. Besides the fact that Harley was with her mother on the road trip from Colorado to South Carolina, Agent Cohen doesn't believe Harley was home when Gannon died. I do not have any evidence that she was involved in the murder of Gannon. And the DA asks, was there ever evidence that another adult entered the home when Gannon was killed? And the answer, no evidence. Now remember, Letecia tells the authorities that Eduardo, a man named Eduardo, who she met off of a construction site and gave the key or the key code to get into the garage, came down the stairs and essayed her in Gannon's room. And also she went upstairs, met Gannon's sister at the door, told her to go play with her bike, and then went down and went for more. And then Eduardo changed into Quincy Brown. So she had all kinds of things. There's different locations and just a bunch of BS, So we call him here at It's a Crime, we call Eduardo Omeletto, basically. And it's Eduardo with a G from Letecia. So I'm glad he kind of brought it up. It just said, hey, was there any other person, any other adult in the house? No, there was not. Because there's no Eduardo. It's just Letecia. Now, okay. So there were a lot of doors opening that day in that house. I do tell you that because I did a video on the security system. Like I said, there's just a lot of movement. Okay. So they referenced the doorbell camera, and it was said it was clear that Letecia and Gannon were seen on camera going to the vehicle. That was Al's truck. So it showed Al's pickup truck, and the truck was backed in. And then when they returned later, the truck goes in first. But we never see Gannon get out, but we see Letecia. But this has caused a lot of commotion in the past as well. Everyone's trying to figure it out, me included, because it was just weird how the arrest affidavit was, because we didn't think he came home, but they believe. How else did that get there? It's just very weird. I'm still scratching my head on that one. Petco wasn't mentioned either in the preliminary, and we know she went there, and there was a bunch of shenanigans happened that as well. If Gannon wasn't feeling well, why the heck are you going to Petco and you're buying dog coats and all this other stuff? Is weird. So they talked about the Ring doorbell video and said it was clear it was Letecia and Gannon. Let me see. The agent was asked, no evidence he was hurt in that video, meaning the security footage. He was not shot or stabbed at that time. No. So you believe he returned the morning on the 27th alive? Yes. Where do you believe he was killed? His bedroom. Did he try to hide what she had done? Did she try to hide what she had done? Yes. Is the board being in Palmer Lake, which is the S curve, a sign? Yes. The body in Florida? Yes. The cleaned bedroom? Yes. Based on your knowledge of the investigation, were there extensive efforts by the defendant to hide what she had done? Yes. Then cross-exam happened with Mr. Tellini. He asked the agent about his experience, said, yes, this was his first lead investigation. He's been on 10 or more before this. He's asked, CSPD detectives have hundreds under their belt. And he says, I know their requirements. Yes. Tellini says there's a lot of talk about who would have been home when Gannon Stauch was killed, but Agent Cohen cannot give any scientific evidence as to the exact time of death. Agent Cohen said he can't say if the blood or Gannon's bedroom was by a gun or blunt force trauma. And Tellini asked, are you aware that a gunshot will provide a different blood spatter compared to the blunt force object? And the agent said, I'm not an expert, so no. The defense then points out that the back door had opened 10 times according to the AGT security system. The back door, he says, was open and shut 10 times at the time you were saying he was murdered according to the AGT security system. Agent says, I don't have the report in front of me, but that sounds right. He says, we don't know if the person coming in and out of that door is on that gun. Agent Cohen said, we don't have evidence of anyone else entering the home. So that back door, just as a side note, goes into the garage. So that's where the suitcase was found, remember, in the car. So he says, I have no reason to believe there was anyone coming inside the home who was on that gun. But has anyone tried to figure out who those 4 DNA pieces were on the gun? No, sir. Tellini says, it's clear that Letecia frustrated you guys because she was clearly lying to you. And he says, it was clear she was lying, but I wouldn't say we were frustrated. He says Tellini says, she has a history of fabricating stuff even when not being the subject of a homicide. Answer, yes. The FBI says they were looking for signs of abuse from Letecia before this case. The interviews with her, Tellini says the interviews with her students and neighbors in the report show she was a good stepmother to him. And Cohen says that's what the reports showed, yes. Tellini says there's a vast majority of child homicides that include abuse before. Cohen says in many, Tellini, and usually a biological parent is responsible. Cohen says sure. Tellini says a step parent is 10% of the time. Cohen says, I don't know about that stat, but sounds right. Tellini says, nice house, nice stepmom from your interviews. Cohen says, no one suspected what happened, no. Tellini says, Al wouldn't have left him alone with her if he didn't think so. Cohen says, I can't speak for him. Tellini admits Letecia had a history of fabricating stuff even before being looked at as a homicide suspect. And attorney Tellini is suggesting that the injuries on Gannon could have been made post-mortem, and the agent said he hadn't reviewed the autopsy. So when they were asking about the post-mortem injuries, they said there's a surprising, Tellini says, there's a surprising amount of them in this case. No, Cohen, I can't speak to that. Tellini, has anyone asked the coroner who did the report if it is possible the gunshot wound or the gunshot wound or the blunt force trauma was after death? Cohen says not sure. Then Michael Allen steps up for redirect, and he hands a copy of the autopsy report to Agent Cohen. And in the autopsy report, it says cause of death, gunshot wound, and blunt force trauma to the head. Contributory conditions are sharp force injuries, manner of death, homicide. And the question is asked, what is listed as the cause of death, agent? The answer, gunshot and blunt force trauma. Then agent was asked about the DNA on the gun. The major profile DNA match on the gun was Letecia's, and she was home at the time. Based on evidence, can we pinpoint the day he was killed? Yes, we can. January 27th. DA says, you were asked about the likelihood the perpetrator in a child homicide is not the bio parents. Is this a unique case? Yes. You were asked about her lies. Was one of them that a construction worker raped her, put Gannon in a suitcase and took off? Yes. That's where the Aguardo comes in. The DA mentions about a padlock on the backyard as well. And Letecia said that Gannon had a key to it. He was, in charge of it while Al was away. And she talked a lot about that. DA Allen is pointing out that there's that 6-foot privacy fence in the backyard with the padlock. Agent Cohen said Letecia gave many small nuggets of truth, but it was surrounded by false statements throughout the investigation. You don't say. The judge announces then at that point that they'll be able to get Letecia back on WebEx at 3:45, and they'll be able to complete the preliminary hearing. It's supposed to be a 2-day hearing, but it's wrapping up quick. And so basically they only did day 1. Now, she was also asking to waive her presence at the preliminary hearing for the escape charges. And it said, even though Letecia's coming back, the judge said this, even though she's coming back in court, he won't have a decision that day. The judge says to Letecia, you want to waive your prelim for the escape case? Yes, sir. Judge says, you aren't in isolation for COVID? No, sir. She confirms she wants to waive her presence at the preliminary hearing for her escape. So Both. So then the judge set the decision for the preliminary hearing because he doesn't want to do it right away. He has lots of notes to go through. I'll read that in a minute. For September 23rd at 9 a.m. and we'll find out. DA Allen asked if the judge will make a private WebEx for the family members who are out of state. Now remember, Landon came in from South Carolina, and I mean, that's a process, right? Getting plane tickets, hotels, you're coming over there, there's many costs of it, plus just everything in general. And she was set up to do those 2 days in court. And now it was 1 day and then it's going to be pushed off. So the judge said it's logistically it's possible, but he's not sure if it complies with the laws of the court. The judge will have to think about it and there's no objection. The DA asked if they could listen into the hearing like a conference call, and the judge said no because he worries about people recording the call. So, but the defense does not object to having WebEx stream for the family members. Just checking in on you guys, making sure you're okay. Melissa says, thank you to the mods. Y'all got your hands full tonight. Yes, thank you so much, Melissa, and thank you to all mods because you guys are awesome and super helpful. I appreciate all of you because that's what keeps it classy in here. So thank you so much. Okay. Well, we could read some of the, somebody's asking, why did she hate her husband? I can read some of her little things, her little searches. Okay. Because I got a bunch of little things that weren't part of the preliminary that we can talk about in a minute. So the judge says, I know you want me to make a decision right now, but I want to make sure I get it right. I'm sure you want that too. I didn't know a lot of what they said today. It's new info. I need time to do what I need to do, whatever that may be. So Letecia will remain in jail without bail. Now, I am surprised. Let me know what you guys think too. I'm surprised they didn't include that fake polygraph.com part that Letecia tried to purchase. Remember that? I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to show it to you guys. Okay. This is the polygraph that Letecia tried to purchase. Okay, from fakepolygraph.com. She created the questions and put the answers. So A, do you intend to answer these questions regarding your stepson truthfully? Yes. B, is your birthday August 4th, 1983? Yes. C, did you participate in any way in causing harm to your stepson? No. Did your stepson return with you to your home? Yes. Did you participate in any way in causing the death of your stepson? No. And this is from the affidavit. So it says, I submit to the court that if Letecia had nothing to hide, she would not have to pay for fake polygraph results. Right? And so what she did is she tried to pay money and she tried to get this report. The owner of fakepolygraph.com got this and went, no, and reported it because he did things like fake polygraph for cheating and all that stuff. Not that it's right, but that's what he did. And they did, well, he or she, I don't know, and sent in this thing going like, murder? Yeah, no, I'm going to submit this. So he did the right thing, or she. So it's interesting. Thank you, Jennifer. That's very sweet. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Thanks for all of you hanging out. Okay, so we're going to show a little bit more. Yeah. And they don't give her money back. That's right. I forgot. She wanted her money back. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, no, you're not getting your money back, sister. What do you think? Okay, so yeah, this is very interesting. T-Rex says no one heard 3 gunshots. I'm wondering that as well, and I'm wondering why it was in the pillow. There's 2. My cats are at it. Did you hear that? Somebody's asking if would it have to do with the polygraph not being admissible in court? I don't think so. I think it would be, just to me, that would prove a point that she tried to obtain a polygraph and the questions on it, I would use that as an example, but maybe there's a reason, or maybe they just didn't think it was a big deal. But to me, I was like, no, let's do this. So, okay, so let's go to some other things. She was very angry, this Letecia, and she did a bunch of searches. She's done a lot of searches. Okay, so I was just going to show you some of her searches. Find me a new husband book. I feel like I'm just a nanny, not a stepmom. Husband uses me to babysit his kids. Are there any free money to move away from a bad situation? My husband never posts about me, but does everything else. My husband only cleans up for the army, not me. I'm just a glorified babysitter. Find a new husband. Sent my husband sexual messages and he ignores them, makes my husband want me more. I feel like my husband uses me to babysit his kid. Like, it's just like, she just goes on and on and on and on and on. And I don't know. She's pulled so many things, and they're not searching. Obviously, all these crazy mileage she put on, driving to Florida, being 3.3 miles away from where Gannon was found. I mean, she thought she's very smart. She's not that smart. And now getting other people involved. She's super selfish, exactly. And remember the toilet paper? She stuffed toilet paper down her pants. Remember that? That was in front of the authorities. So yeah, why did she do that? So she had been using the toilet paper and then she stuffed it down her pants so they can't take it with any DNA or anything. She was saying that they weren't going to give her water and they don't give her food and all this stuff. It's against her constitutional rights, blah, 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 blah. And Letecia also, yes, punched a police off. That's right. Letecia tried to escape after she got, not escaped jail, but she actually assaulted one of the deputies who was transporting her, and she had to stop in Kansas on a little overnight trip. And she writes letters to the judge. I wondered that too about a silencer. I'm not too sure how that works, but and her measurements were way off. What does she think? Eduardo was going to pick her up and after she measured the window and get out of there? Like, oh dear girl, I have chronic back pain. Yeah, I hurt my back pretty bad, so it's been interesting. It's been hard. And doctor, she says that she's a doctor as well. This is, yes, it's not being televised. They did the same thing with Barry Morphew, and it was refused. The media was refused. They were allowed to be in the courtroom, but they couldn't televise it. Now, I wanted to be there. I so wanted to be there. And then yesterday morning when they came out right away with the details, I sobbed so much. All I kept thinking is, like, how could I even be strong there? I couldn't even be strong with a family. Yeah, this is what I'm thinking, is a possibility that Gannon could have been in that van. No. Gannon wasn't in that van when she was interviewed because she took the Nissan and then went to the S-curve, and I believe then picked him up and then went down and then continued on. So I don't think so. I think she went back there. He wasn't there. And I had thought that earlier, but no, she took the Nissan, goes up, and then comes back. Yeah. All right. So what other questions you have for me there? I know that's a lot to digest. I did not too bad. I thought this was going to be like a 4 or 5 hour event. I went fast. Thank you. Mary says, I only watch Gannon content on your channel. You've been with me since 30,000. Thank you so much. I'm happy to have you guys part of it. The death penalty is still on the table for Letecia because it happened before the abolishment of the death penalty. It was in July that they passed it, and because it happened before, just like Barry and just like Chad and Lori, it's all on the table. Or Barry because he's in Colorado. So yeah, so Manglia, she took him out and then she brought him home and killed him. I'm confused. This is the confusing part. I spent a lot of time on the timeline, of course, but trying to figure this one out because it was very confusing in the arrest affidavit because we're like, wait a minute, she did all kinds of weird things at lunchtime. And I had thought before this came out and before the arrest came out, I thought she did something in the afternoon around that noon because there was a time where she had things shut off. I thought she went to Douglas County then and then came back. But the weird thing is we don't see Gannon get out. And she made some stupid thing about you could see through video. It was hilarious. She's like, you could see through video the thermal. And you're like, no, dummy. You can't do that. She's just like a recording of the video. And then if you can do, you could see the thermal after. It's just like, no. Yeah. How long was Letecia and Gannon's dad together? I believe in January it would have been their 5th anniversary, wedding anniversary. Jana says, I think Harley knows plenty. I'm curious about that. I want to know what Letecia was referring to when she asked Harley at nighttime, did you get it? And she said, yes. We already know about the baking soda and the trash bags and the carpet powder. But what else? That wasn't detailed yesterday. Harley is her biological daughter. Yes. Yeah, remember that? Okay, this is a good question. Caitlin says, why was Gannon limping when you see him getting into the truck on the ring doorbell? We did see that. And the neighbor who had him on video even said he doesn't look good. But I think there was more to it because of the candle incident and what Letecia may have done to Gannon at that point, because he did say he was bleeding. So I'm not too sure what that's about. I still wonder if, okay, in my opinion, I wonder, and had wondered before, like at 10:30, I think it was, they left the house. Like I said, it was really strange. She went to Petco twice, and then had the phone off, and even there was some searches on the phone and just weird things like, can anyone find my Nintendo Switch and that kind of thing. There's a few different things, and that was bizarre to me. So I had wondered what went on there. And then she came back because she came back at 2 something in the afternoon. It was in the afternoon, but we didn't see Gannon come back. So it's weird. And then why be back in the bed? And they find all this blood, right? So it's very curious for sure. Um, leave minors alone unless they have been charged. Well, that's the thing. So Harley was 17 at the time, but now she's, I believe, 19. It's curious about what she did pick up. I'm not saying she knew anything, but I'm saying, what did she pick up for Letecia? Now, we know Letecia even said on the interview, oh, I tell Gannon to go do this, Gannon to go do that, and he does it. So she's no different than with anybody else in her family, you know, I'm sure. No, I know. It's all good. It's all good. I just wanted to make a point about that. It's all good. Okay, Elizabeth, nice to see you. She says, remember the thing back in the back of the truck that bounced when she pulled out? Yes, I do remember that. I do remember that. I have a video on that as well. You guys, please check out my videos on it. Maybe not all of them, because some of them you'll know it's just the beginning. You know, you started. If you want to watch all of it, that's great too. But there's some very crucial ones that I walk through the timelines and show you. Check out the security cam video one. Check that out, just so that you could see the movements, and even maybe the truck one. I have a couple of them that I walk through. Was I able to see the preliminary hearing? No, I gathered all the information from a few different Twitter accounts from the reporters, and I combined it all yesterday, and then today I sorted it to make it into the script. I started at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I've been going for a long time, minus a little bit here and there. So it's been bad. I wanted to see it. I really wanted to be there. I don't know when the trial's going to happen. Let's face it. I think it's going to go to trial. You guys think it's going to go to trial? Send me some hearts in there, blue hearts, and see. Because I think it's going to go. Yeah, you guys really have all those little bits too. There's so many tiny little things Letecia's done. Honestly, it's just. Jacqueline says, I think she stabbed him, then took him out limping and killed him outside the home. That would explain the blood through the home. Yeah, there's some questions on or surrounding that. Like, I just didn't see him come, and then it didn't make sense to me. Why bring him home, or what happened? So I don't know. There's also a time frame. It has to be very, very quick, because then his sister comes home. So do check it out. When did the U-Haul come into play? The moving van, February 1st. So by February 1st, so 27th, he was reported a runaway. Then it turned into a missing child. And then by February 1st, she rents it with Harley and they take off. And then by the 4th, Gannon was put over the bridge. And that same day, Letecia changed her profile to show Gannon waving and jumping in the water, which I just want to flicker. Like, it's just, I'm telling you, there's a lot of expletives yesterday. Thank you, Beth. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely trial. Look at all the blue hearts. Yes, yes, yes. It's going to go to trial. I think so too. What a difference too, in the preliminary hearing, the way it was, I guess I want to say formatted. It was so organized this time, whereas Barry's was just like everywhere, all over the place, I feel. Just maybe because I had to work on it for so many hours. But I had appreciated how it was, and I mean, it just flowed so well. Just going through, you don't hear a lot of objections or anything. It's just they just did what they did. Now I don't know because I don't have the exact transcript, but I'm sure I will get it, and we'll go through there. Thank you, Sarah Morley. Trial, I don't know what's going to happen with the trial. I certainly know the preliminary wasn't. I don't think the trial is going to be too. I don't think so. I hope not. So I'm really hoping to be there though for trial. I don't know. Do you guys think it's going to be in the new year for the trial, or do you think it's going to be sooner than that? Lots of blue hearts. You guys think it's going to go to trial? That's, yeah. New Year's. Okay, sooner. I hope it's sooner. December. Whew, timeline recap. I may be able to recap. Yeah, I'll timeline recap from this. The 27th, Letecia reports Gannon as a runaway. Al comes into town on the 28th. Letecia goes all over the place to different various locations. One being the S curve, I call it, in Douglas County, north of Colorado Springs. And she takes Gannon out there, I think. They found a board there. And she keeps going back to this location. Then Landon, Gannon's mom, comes into town. February 4th, that's at this point, she rented the vehicle. She goes to Florida and buys a phone on the way. Checks into a hotel, sleeps there for 4 hours with her daughter, Harley. And then they go and Letecia stops allegedly at the bridge and puts the suitcase over the bridge. It's 80 to 100 feet down to the bottom. And then Letecia gets arrested before Gannon's found. And she was extradited on March the 3rd. March the 4th, she appears in court in Colorado. But first, she actually assaults a deputy on the way, so she had to spend overnight there. And then she was formally charged on March 11th with first-degree murder, child abuse resulting in death, tampering with the deceased human body, and tampering with physical evidence. March 18th, Gannon was found off a roadway in Florida. April 3rd, this is when the arrest affidavit leaked, and that was on 2020 that we saw a lot of that stuff. So in May, Letecia asked for a delay in a pretrial hearing, and then there were new charges on May 18th because she's trying to escape jail. And June 5th, the judge orders a competency evaluation. Remember, she had 2 of them. And then she was deemed competent. And then March, she wrote a letter to the judge because she likes to do that. And she said, "Indeed, I am innocent." She always says 100% innocent. And she believes that her team at the time was in cahoots with the prosecution. And she says, "I'm left with no other choice than to represent myself." And then she doesn't get represented by herself, and she gets the lawyers. So she's just a one-ring circus. Oh, don't forget the fact that she pretended on Zoom one day to see things and hear things and go, oh, and flick the light on and off. There was that too. So she's something else. She's something else. Al was out of town. Yes, he was in Oklahoma training. And Julie says, I love your sarcasm. I can't even help it. If you go to some of my Letecia videos, at some point, it's just so ridiculous. I think one of them, I just flicked my papers. Yeah, it was the judge video. It was the judge video that I was just like, I flicked my papers because it's like, you can't even make it up. You can't even make it up. That's how crazy it is. And that's that girl. Thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate the super sticker. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out with me on a Friday night. Thank you so much. It wasn't easy tonight for some of this information. I really didn't want to get into too much details. And then at the same time, it's like people have to know what she did, allegedly. And my blue nails for Gannon. Last year I couldn't find them this year, but last year I had blue nails and then one of them had stripes on them and that signified Letecia in jail. Yeah. Yeah. Well, she didn't feel like showing up yesterday at court, so she didn't. And I think that's ridiculous. Do they have a time frame when he was killed? They said basically on the 27th sometime. She lied about a bunch of stuff as well. Maybe I can go zip quickly through the arrest affidavit and point out some important things. Would you guys like me to do that? Megan says she's one of the worst humans I have ever seen. Thank you so much for your super chat and your comment. I don't know, man. I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to pull some things in from the arrest affidavit that I have up here. And I'll give you some tidbits that stick out to me that we haven't covered tonight. Okay. Especially Eduardo, we got to revisit that because that in itself should go down in history as the biggest BS story of the FBI lifetime and the El Paso County sheriffs and anybody else like of their life. It'll be document. Do you know how his dad is doing? Well, it was reported in that he was there at the preliminary hearing, and people reporting that he wasn't doing well during it. So neither parents are doing well. Lisa wants to know what happened to her ace in the hole. Okay. Right? Okay, I'm going to go to see some of these because we can talk about, okay, so she conducted a Google search. Can Nintendo find my Switch? And they did search for that, the authorities, and said there's no trackability on it. It showed the pictures. His Nintendo Switch was shown in the picture as well. Okay, so on January 28th at about 1 o'clock, she did that. Can Nintendo find my Switch? Okay. They're just going through the. This is what's weird. Okay. This is why I hope you guys can go and see my video. I really do, because it'll give all the little details of this day. Letecia's telephone was locked at or about 9:56 a.m. on January 27th, which is the Monday before he was reported, and unlocked at 2:25 on the same day. The timing of the unlocking of the device is significant as compared to her departure and arrival to and from the residence, and should be noted by the court. Particularly, Letecia did not open her phone for approximately 30 minutes after she arrived back at the residence. So there's some sketchy times in there, and I'd asked that a while ago. On that day, there was a message sent from Gannon's phone to Harley's phone that reads, "Tisha left phone at home. If you need her, text me." And that was at 10:37 a.m., which is interesting to me as well. Because why would she leave her phone at home, right? I don't know. It's weird. That's when she went, remember the Petco day? Investigators were able to confirm, based on video surveillance footage and purchase receipts, that Letecia traveled to Petco, which was the North Petco. There was ones near her house, but she went right to the North one, near where you go and up to Douglas County. It's 22 miles from the residence and is approximately a 30-minute drive. The receipt shows that Letecia completed her purchase on at or about 11:22 a.m. Gannon is not visible on any of the surveillance video obtained at Petco. Letecia's whereabouts are unknown between 11:22 and 1:22. And at 1:22, Letecia was again captured on video surveillance, making a second purchase at that same Petco. Al sent a message to Gannon's cell phone at about 12:06 that reads, "Hey, buddy." And this message wasn't answered until 1:21 p.m. That's the same time that Letecia, or a minute before Letecia was seen again on that Petco. And the response was, "Can I play Zelda at least?" And Al said, "Not today." And it says, a significant event occurred on Gannon's phone at or about 1:43 p.m., which is prior to arriving back at the Stauch home. There was an internet search for, "Can my parent find my cell phone if it's off?" I submit that this internet search was likely conducted by Letecia on Gannon's phone and not Gannon himself, based upon the content of the search, the way the search terms are phrased, and the presence of a period in between the phone and if. This is very similar to the way Letecia conducts searches on her phone. However, I located other internet searches with a period in Gannon's search history, which I also reasonably believe were conducted by Letecia. A more detailed explanation of Letecia's search history is included below in paragraph 141. So here's where that's weird, right? So that would technically, what they're saying is before Gannon died. Why are you searching for something and then take him home and that happens? Like, there's just some weird things in that. It's just weird. Yeah. So the truck returned at 14:20, which is 2:20 p.m. And then it was off. Her screen wasn't unlocked until 2:45, which was 25 minutes after arriving back at the residence. During that 25-minute period, there is motion activity both upstairs and downstairs on the ADT records. And yeah, so that's interesting, right? No, there's a video. There is a video. You can see it very faintly. So I did see it. It was you can hear him say at the end, but you can see the video, and she posted it. And I'm not saying you can see Gannon the whole time, but you can see shadows there. And she posted it because she wanted to show. She wanted to show. Promise you. Thank you, Changed Forever. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know. It took me 2 months last time to go to therapy and all this other things for my back. Here I am. I'm not as limber, apparently. Or I'm limber, but I guess I'm not as, my muscles aren't as happy. Yeah, it was upside down, but I turned it the other way. I worked on that. Okay, let's find some other stuff here. So there's some confusion on there. I'm gonna have to go back on that. This is still bugging me, but maybe, you know, now when you step away and then you come back, it's fresh. Okay, this is where they talk about the bumper. So I learned the Volkswagen Tiguan, known to be leased and utilized by Letecia, was backed into the garage when the El Paso County Sheriff's was at the residence. The position of the Tiguan in the garage is significant, specifically because of the confirmed presence of Gannon's blood in the garage below the area where the rear hatch of the Tiguan would be, and the positive reaction of Blue Star reagent indicating likely presence of blood on the Tiguan's rear bumper. Letecia provided statements to her husband, Albert Stauch, that she was concerned about putting mileage on her Tiguan lease, which justified the vehicle rental. During the time period Letecia had the Kia, she did not provide the location of the Tiguan, and Mr. Stauch never saw the Tiguan. For example, she told Mr. Stauch that the Tiguan was near French Elementary School. It's coming. It's coming. Okay, so let me see. Okay, here we go. Here's Eduardo. What were gunshots ever reported during this time? It doesn't say anything in there. I don't know. And I also wonder about the time of it, but he would be in the home alone with her technically. I don't know. Just that she was, you know, the pillow, right? Okay. Shelby says she didn't mention that she kept Gannon homesick from school to the deputies when she reported him. Yeah, I wonder, I gotta go through that again. Thank you, Shelby. No, she said he was a runaway, right? She knew that, I think. She should report him that way and then don't have to worry about it. No gunshots reported. Interesting. Okay. The January 29th interview and the report of an alleged assault of Letecia. As mentioned above, Letecia voluntarily came to the El Paso County Sheriff's for an interview with investigators, but only after she was evasive and avoided speaking with investigators one-on-one. Her interview was audio and video recorded, and the below information includes her own statements as well as investigation geared towards corroborating those statements. In general, her statements are reasonably categorized as untruthful, incomplete, and misleading. Letecia was supposed to arrive at 10 a.m. on January 29, 2020, but did not arrive until noon. Although she spoke with investigators on the phone several times, she did not want investigators coming to her home and was difficult at best to track down. Now we know why. Investigators provided food and water to Letecia during the interview. Of interest, Letecia brought several pieces of notebook paper with her that contained notes she had written down. During the interview, she referred to those pieces of paper and asked investigators if she could just read her notes. Investigators were not able to seize these documents. I have conducted hundreds of interviews of subjects, victims, and witnesses. It is extremely rare for an individual to bring notes to an interview. Letecia drastically departed from her initial statements given to the El Paso County Sheriff's deputies regarding the report of Gannon's disappearance. In summary, Letecia said she had been held at gunpoint and essayed by a Hispanic male she knows as Eduardo, and that Gannon was abducted by that male after he finished essaying her. The interviewing detectives believe her statements were false based on prior experience investigating these types of cases. Letecia said she arrived home at around 2:30 p.m. on January 27, 2020, and she disarmed her security system and then went into the basement. She said that Eduardo was in the basement, attacked her, and pointed a gun at her. She said that Eduardo held her at gunpoint. He allowed her to go upstairs, though, to greet her stepdaughter, who had just arrived home from school. Letecia said she sent her outside to ride her bike, then returned to the basement, and Eduardo essayed her against her will. Okay, so you're going to go up there and then you're going to come back. Why not go out the door? Right? Okay, anyway. He held her against her will from about 3:30 to 4:30. During this period, she believed that she had hit her head and may have blacked out. Investigators noted no injuries on Letecia's head during their contact with her. Letecia also said that during the attack, Gannon jumped on Eduardo's back and that Eduardo was able to throw Gannon off his back and across the room. After Eduardo had finished, he had the gun held to Gannon and demanded a suitcase. Letecia provided him with a brown suitcase and a cardboard box. Eduardo attempted to essay her again, but she hit her head and blacked out again. Letecia stated that she tried to fight Eduardo off, but was unsuccessful. I know from training and experience that if an individual holds another person at gunpoint, he or she would likely not allow the person to have the opportunity for escape, as Letecia described being allowed to greet her stepdaughter upstairs before returning to the basement. Most crucially, if Letecia's story was accurate, any reasonable person would have immediately called 911 and reported the home invasion, the essay, and kidnapping of their child. Letecia called law enforcement hours later and did not report the alleged essay until approximately 2 days later. Kind of like the, the mountain lion theory that changed into an abduction in the Suzanne Morphew case, in my opinion. Back to story time. Of even more significance, Letecia said she cleaned up the area where this alleged attack had happened. She straightened up some signs of disturbances in Gannon's room and cleaned up the utility room. Investigators recovered cleaning supplies such as carpet brushes, which contained suspected carpet fibers. I submit that Letecia did in fact clean something up, but it was the murder scene of Gannon, not the essay. Investigators took steps to corroborate Letecia's statements before dismissing them as false and misleading. For example, investigators reviewed video footage from a neighbor's security camera that captured the exterior of the Stauch residence from the day of Gannon's murder and did not observe a Hispanic male entering the house. Investigators did observe Elena arrive home on the school bus at or about 3:11 p.m., observed her enter the residence, and observed her riding her bike at about 3:30 p.m. Furthermore, Letecia was offered the opportunity to have an SA nurse examiner conduct a forensic examination at the local hospital. Ultimately, Letecia did not want to have the exam completed. When given the opportunity to provide investigators with evidence that would possibly identify Eduardo, Letecia refused to cooperate. Now it gets more interesting. Letecia stated that she met Eduardo, story time again, on January 26, 2020, the day prior to Gannon's murder. She generally described a Hispanic male with brown hair and brown eyes, but could not provide any specific identifying information. In summary, she told investigators that Gannon had knocked over a candle on Sunday, causing the carpet to burn. After that incident, she drove around the neighborhood where residential construction was taking place. She met Eduardo, who was working on a house, and asked if he would repair the carpet in her home. Eduardo agreed, and Letecia provided him the garage door code, and they agreed he would repair the carpet while she was shopping the next day. To the extent Letecia spoke about, hang on. Investigators were able to corroborate the statements, but never observed Eduardo or anyone else arrive or leave the residence during the time period based on exterior neighborhood video footage of the front of the Stauch residence. Specifically, exterior video footage revealed that the stepdaughter was driving her bike outside between approximately 3:30 and 3:42. Furthermore, the front door of the residence opened and closed at 3:28 based on data from ADT security system discussed more below. I know from training and experience that when individuals concoct lies, most reasonably to conceal the truth, they oftentimes leave portions of truths within those lies. I submit that the statements Letecia made reference to stepdaughter and the time period that she was at the residence are likely true based on video evidence. Her other statements, however, are blatant lies designed to mislead investigators. Investigators also reviewed Letecia's phone records during the time period of the alleged SA of 3:30 to 4:30 on January 27th. During this time period, Letecia had phone activity to include an outgoing phone call and numerous iMessages to Al Stauch and Harley, namely to discuss purchasing a new set of headphones for Albert. These text messages occurred at the following times: 3:41, 3:42, 3:43, 3:44, 3:45, 4:11, 4:19, and 4:20. Guess while she was being essayed. Investigators also were granted a search warrant by this court that was served the ADT home security. So then they go through that and they talk about how the record of the events, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So, I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on of that garbage. Hang on, I'm going to double check you. Thank you, Changed Forever. I appreciate that. Thank you. I see another one there. I think Shelby had one. And Change Forever. Thank you. The truth is always in the lies. Yes, very true. Okay. Okay, I'm going through here and then I'll get back to this. I can't see it if there was. I'm so sorry, Shelby, if you had one. I'm not sure. Okay, so we go through that and then, oh, this is interesting. Okay. And this is good because my husband's a medic and he was even listening to this last year. Letecia was transported to the hospital via ambulance from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office for further medical attention. Letecia was accompanied by detectives during the ride to the hospital. Unlike questions at the EPSO by paramedics during the ambulance ride, Letecia was unresponsive to questions by medical personnel and seemed to have a miraculous recovery when they arrived at the hospital. The ambulance ride was audio recorded. Can't wait to hear that. Letecia received medical care at the hospital, and the details of that care is not included in the affidavit for medical privacy reasons. Letecia did not have any life-threatening issues and signed herself out prior to all her exams being completed. Letecia continued evasive behavior at the hospital, but particularly after investigators told her that they were going to detain her pending the issuance of a search warrant to collect her DNA. Ultimately, the search warrant for the collection of non-testimonial evidence was signed and executed. A second warrant for the compelled exam, that's the essay exam, was initially authorized by the court, but then was quashed by the court. To be clear, Letecia did not allow this exam to be completed. Where did it have about the Kleenex? Oh yeah, right here. During the interview in the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Towards the end of the interview, Letecia said she wanted to leave. Investigators seized her telephone and detained her while they applied for a search warrant to obtain DNA collection. Letecia began stuffing tissues in her pants and said she was having chest pain and shortness of breath. Investigators immediately requested medical assistance, and paramedics from the Colorado Springs Fire Department arrived. Letecia had appropriate responses to the paramedics' questions, and then it goes on. There was no Aguardo. So there's more fabrications. There was, what else? Lots of searches. Then the mapping, hang on, I'm going to try and see if I can find the other, because she said some stupid things about going out north and laying on the road. Oh, okay, here we go. On February 14th, 2020, Letecia had an additional conversation with Al Stauch and provided 4 additional versions of Gannon's disappearance. Story number 1. When the El Paso County Sheriff's Office came to the house on January 27th, the abductor was still in her residence, and as she tried to signal the deputies that there was somebody in the residence, it should be noted that the deputies checked the entirety of the house and no additional person was located during the search. We heard about that tonight, about the preliminary. Story number 2. She was essayed by Quincy Brown at her residence, and Brown abducted Gannon. She knew Brown's identity because she saw a paper and his identification card fall out of his pocket that had his name on it. Letecia sent a photograph of Quincy Brown to Al Stauch via text message. It is noted this photograph mirrored images online wherein Quincy Brown was listed as a most wanted suspect in something entirely different. Story number 3, Quincy Brown followed her from Petco at some point, was laying in the middle of the road in front of her car. When Letecia stopped to avoid running the man over, he jumped into her car and made her take her home. Then he essayed her. You see, this is where I think that this whole Petco, there's a reason why she's bringing them up. Something happened there. Story 4, Letecia and Gannon were near County Line Road, Highway 105 in northern El Paso County on January 27th. Gannon was riding a bicycle in that area and fell off, hit his head, and then was abducted by Quincy Brown. In this version of events, Quincy Brown was driven by a man named Terrence. So there's 4 versions. Interestingly, there's a 4 versions too in my Justin Evans case. It's interesting. Yeah, so there's that. They're talking about him and his picture. He has outstanding, or Quincy Brown has had outstanding arrest warrants for failure to register as an essay offender and failure to appear. And they've been open since 2018. So she looked at something and then got that out. Thank you, Miss Linda, for your amazing dedicated work. Thank you so much, Patty. I appreciate you. And thank you for the super chat. P.S. We need to find Eduardo the Waldo. Now, where's Eduardo? Maybe she was hanging out with Letecia yesterday. Well, she just didn't feel like going up to court. Didn't feel like it, so I guess she just hung out with Eduardo. Me too, Chrissy. Me too. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight, you guys. I know Friday night, we're going through all this stuff. We're getting a little extra info as well, other than the preliminary hearing and going back. And there's going to be some more connecting of dots. I need to revisit a couple things as well. Then there's that fake polygraph test. So on February 18th, Letecia called the number and for this fake polygraph.com. During that call, Letecia stated she never got a confirmation for the test she paid for. Letecia provided the spelling of her name, and before disconnecting the call, the unknown male stated he would resend her the results to her email. Okay, so there was a mail. And then I read you guys what she said in there. Also on February 18th at about 11:16 a.m., she called this number. During this call, Letecia inquired about the email she received. The unknown male stated that her report was blocked by management based on the content of the questions, and stated that with any illegal activities, they reserve the right to not send the report. Letecia's response was the following: "What do you do now? Just delete it and go on about life and keep the money?" The male says, "Yes, we do indeed." Letecia says, "Okay, I got you. Thank you. Goodbye." Investigators contacted the person who was using that number, and he provided information to investigators, including the questions and answers that Letecia had provided, which is what I read out to you guys. This is interesting. Based on data collected by the FBI and reported in the Journal of Forensic Sciences, I learned that over 71% of homicide cases that involve false reporting, the reporting party is responsible for the murder. To be clear, this statistic is not being provided as sole probable cause for the request warrant, but as an additional fact to be combined with others listed in this affidavit. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. That would have been interesting when Josh Tellini was talking to him and talking about the 10%, that this would have been brought up. That would be great. Sorry, guys, for the cough. Okay. Thank you, Michelle Hunter. Thank you so much. Shelby says, but he has a business card. That makes it legit. Thanks, Shelby. Oh, yeah, right? He has a business card. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's about it for the arrest. Well, I mean, there's more in the arrest affidavit, but I did mention quite a bit tonight already that they talked about. So it would just be repeating myself. I haven't been here in a long time. Well, welcome back. Nice to see you. I'm here hanging out. It's been a while since I've done a live stream as well. I've been busy getting my little one back to school, and so much information on these cases. It's taking me a little bit longer to put them together, and haven't been feeling that well. And I went on vacation a couple times, so I've been trying to do some good things for myself and taking care of my health, even though I wrecked my back again, but doing those little things as well. So I knew September is going to be busy. We have so much going on. Where's my little, oh, did I put my calendar? I might have it downstairs. Oh no, I have it here too. Because you guys, next Friday, Barry Morphew's back in court, and we're going to find out if it goes to trial. So that's important. And then the week after that is Chad Daybell and Letecia. We'll find out on the 23rd at 9 a.m. if she's going to proceed to trial. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Can someone explain why she stuffed Kleenex in her pants? Because they would get DNA off that. She didn't want that, so she grabbed her Kleenex and put it in. Could you go over briefly what she did? So I mentioned earlier in the video. So I'm having a hard time speaking now. I talked for 3 hours straight. Okay, so Gannon was shot, stabbed in the chest in the back, and had defensive wounds on his hands and his arms. So, and he had a fractured skull. So you name it, that happened. Zanny the nanny was there too, right? My baby will be what? I remember when you were pregnant, she's gonna be 1. Oh, say happy birthday to her. She's so cute. I can't believe that. That's crazy, Shelby. So I know there's a lot to digest on what happened. I'm really disappointed that she wasn't there. Letecia wasn't there and made to sit. Linda, take a drink if you need to for your throat. Thank you. Bless you. It's dry. Thank you so much. So I'm quite mad. My lips too are super dry. I'm quite mad that she didn't sit there and listen to all that. I think she should have. I think she should have been made to. I don't know, but I don't know exactly about all the rules and laws on that. But I do feel she should have been sitting there and listening to that. Isn't it possible Harley was at the hotel? Yep, it's possible. Absolutely. I just questioned because of the weight. That's all. Thank you, Lisa Hogan. Thank you. I had just wondered. And look, I mean, Letecia barked orders, right? Harley, go get me this. Harley, go get me that. I'm curious what Harley got that night. And maybe that would connect dots back to Letecia and what she did or could have done. And disclaimer too, you guys. Letecia could have fed Harley all kinds of stuff. She could have said, you know, oh, don't worry about that suitcase. I just put my old stuff in there, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about that. I'm just gonna leave it in there. I don't need to bring it to the hotel or whatever, right? We don't know. We don't know what she said to her. But I do question a couple things of what Letecia forced her to go get, so to speak. Well, and I know, I'm just, I don't know. Okay, I don't know about that. Maybe Harley wasn't allowed to go in the back of the truck, in the van. I don't know. It's so hard. It's so hard there. No, Eduardo wasn't on the most wanted list. It was Quincy Brown who it quickly turned to from from Eduardo to Quincy Brown. Harley was 17 at the time. Yeah, Eduardo Omeletto is who we call on this channel. In fact, the members of my crime ring in here, you can do the Eduardo Omeletto emoji that I made. That's the Eduardo. And don't you remember, don't you remember in Barry's case just recently in his preliminary, what did he call him? CBD Jeff, like the Eduardo. Maybe he was watching a Letecia's thing too. He was like, well, she's getting away with it, so I don't know. Thank you, Changed Forever. Long time. I try and keep it classy. Sometimes with Letecia, I can't help it. Sometimes I gotta go a little bit. Oh, CBD Tim. CBD Tim, that's right. CBD Tim, right? Yeah. What else, you guys? It's gonna be, I guess, not too bad of a week next week, but we do find out next Friday about Bear. So that's gonna be an important day, and maybe I'll do a live after that as well. It's been a while since I've done one. I'm getting some help as well on the channel, so we'll see. Hopefully, I can start amping up the videos again. And not that I'm always working behind the scenes, always. It's just the amount of time on my timelines takes so long. For example, yesterday I watched the preliminary, like the tweets of the preliminary, and I watched it all day from 9 till 3 something, 3:45. So all throughout there, and then I had to sort them because I got all three and put them together. And then today, since 6 o'clock this morning, I've been sifting and scripting this, the video basically, so that I could present it tonight. And so it's just crazy. So it doesn't look like I'm putting out much, but at the back end, I'm going crazy because I'm talking to people for cases, and then I'm getting this, and I have how many different cases and trying to figure it out. So yeah, Tracy says, Letecia makes me think and say things that I normally wouldn't. You just can't control emotions. I'm telling you, my mouth was a potty mouth yesterday. I was not happy. Hey, Miss T, nice to see you. I missed your comment. What was your comment? Say it again. Please check out, you know what? I'm going to give you, let me give you the Gannon playlist, because there's a couple of them that I'm sure you would like to see, because it goes in the details, and a lot of you, I know a lot of my viewers like the details because I like the details. But in the playlist, let me see if I can look up which one would be good to watch. I mean, they're all good to watch. There's 62 of them in Gannon's list, and I think there'll be some that are live streams too. But Letecia's statement, I actually did an analysis. This was interesting. There's some things that I said in there was very interesting. The new statement from Tecia, I actually had said a long time ago, Letecia's a distancer. She's going to go the distance. Right from the get-go, I called it. And I said something to the effect, head north. I go north, she's going to go north. And 2 days later, they're looking north. But I did say a couple things. I ripped her statement apart. And I know some of you have seen there's a little fluffy just like floating around. Some of you have seen some of my statement stuff. But back then, I did a statement analysis, so to speak, on Letecia and broke it down. And I went, where did you go the distance? What did you do? And so I was asking these things long before we even knew the details. So I always said she was going to do that. So go through some of that. I did the driveway. I did, I know the rental car, because I was trying to figure out, they said 955 miles, but it never ended up being that as we were questioning. So I was trying to work out, and this was all in real time I picked it up right away. So some of these will be applicable and some things won't. But Ticia's tall tales and travels, where did Tecia go in those last 2 days? So that's where I was trying to figure it out at that time. But the leaked phone call I walked through it and talked about each step. I broke it down. I'm going to give you, there is some new charges. Letecia's letter to the judge. That's interesting. Jailhouse interview. So there's a few different ones there that you can look. I'll let you sift through. Dear Judge again. So let me just put this in here for you guys. So it's easier for you to find. And you can just click on it and peruse it. Remember, she got threats in her peanut butter? Did all 5 cars come out in court? Yes. Correction though, Carrie. They are. It's still on the table. It's just because it was before. It was before it happened. And District Attorney Allen also says it's still on the table. Carolina says, Linda, I love when you're on your real, honest, your details, everything you do. Thank you. Should be a reporter. I don't want to be a reporter though. I hate drama. You're amazing, good heart, unique. Should be doing 48 hours. Well, maybe one day I'll be doing something, but I don't want to be a reporter. Even though I report on some of this stuff, I don't want to be an actual reporter. Okay, what else, you guys? Do I do mostly solved or unsolved? I guess both, because a lot of it's as it's happening. And then I've got one of them that I really, there's 2. Ray Rivera that I looked at. That's fascinating case. I've been working on the cryptic note, and I have like 1 section left, and it's been forever since I've been working on it. But because I'm always doing work on this, that I haven't been able to get over that. So Courtney says, my first live as a member. Yay! Although I've been a sub since you had 10,000 subscribers. Well, welcome. I'm glad you were able to chat tonight and hang out. Thanks again, Changed Forever. Thank you. I appreciate it. You guys like my deep dives. Kimberly says your deep dive and timelines are the absolute best. Well, I'm so nerdy when it comes to the timelines. I want to know all of it, and I want to know the details, and I want to put these together. Like, what does this mean? Or, what are we missing? Alicia says, Linda, I need to email me you. I have a cup I made for you. Oh, that I would like to send you. Awesome. Send me an email. It's a crime and a shame at gmail.com. Thank you. Okay, this is going to be, people ask me this all the time. What brand of color, lip color did you put on this video? So this one is actually a cheapie, but I get so many compliments on it. It is like Wet and Wild Dark Pink Frost, like a $2 lipstick, but it lasts on camera and it's not drying. And I get tons of compliments on it, so I wear it. And then what I put on top sometimes is just a lip gloss, but other than that, it's the main ones. Everybody always talks about this color. It says dark pink frost, but doesn't even really look like that color. I truly think she was planning to make it look like he had been planning to run away by using Gannon's phone to search about the phone. Just makes me think true, very true, could be. Good Grandma says, thanks for allowing open-ended discussions and your patience is amazing. Well, thank you. When you join the membership, are all the previous membership videos available? Yeah, the live streams are, yes. Not the Zooms, though. We Zoom and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Tim's gal says, you being so thorough is what makes your channel so good. Sometimes, sometimes it's hard too because I'm not in a rush. Like I don't want to race to put something out. I want it to be the way I want it to be, right? And I want to be thorough, but sometimes it's like, man, I want to get this out. I don't want it to be 3 days because my timeline sometimes it take like 3 days to put together. And so I'm hoping to get something a little bit sooner. When I first started the channel, I couldn't believe it. I was doing one a day for, I think, 3 or 4 months, like every single day. It was crazy. But at some point you burn out and I can't keep doing that because, my body can't handle that, or my heart. Why do you think his switch was never found? Like, why did she have done away? Well, I think maybe it might have been involved and she had to, maybe it was broken. Maybe it was broken. I don't know. After using it. Gannon had the switch in the pictures that morning on the 27th. She may have hit him with it, maybe. Possible. Hey, Argos, I haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you. And you're giving good advice to other people. That's great. Yeah, there's something about that switch, isn't it? Because she seems to, this is a good point, Courtney says, she mentioned the switch too many times for there not to be something behind it. And Letecia explains away stuff. Oh, the blood in the garage, it's because of this. Oh, on my Tiguan, oh, because of this. So I'm sure that switch, there's something. There's my email if you need it. I don't know who was at the court. I'm not sure. I know obviously Landon and Al were there and it was mentioned, but I don't know about her side. I don't know. Lisa says the bridge in Pace isn't pedestrian friendly. I live 5 minutes away from it. Yeah, so what they talked about is that emergency pullout. Miss T is saying about the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation confirmed that a search of the Fox Forest Count recreation area located a mile southwest of Montezuma was related to the case of Xavier. Oh my goodness, I need to find more about that. Shadow of Lotus says, I'm not very techie. Could they find locations with a switch? I guess in the arrest affidavit, they talked about that, and no, they can't. Hey, that was non-muffler guy. I haven't heard him in a long time. He's here. Thank you, Miss T. Yeah. Lisa says, my heart goes out to the man who found the suitcase. I can't even imagine. It's not good. Muffler guy, non-muffler guy. Yes, Landon and Letecia were friends before they got together. So have you guys seen, Maui Girl says, makes me ill to think Letecia did that interview with Spencer Wilson after killing Gannon. Then after the interview went and dumped him like trash. So heartbreaking. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I rewatched the video today, and she had her head turned when she did the interview. It just plays over in my mind, you know, just her going like this, like everybody's saying Gannon's dead. He's not dead. And she just blah, 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 blah. Like she just, I don't know. I remember the very first time I saw her come out and she's on the interview. I was like, what is she doing? Why is your head turned? She has sunglasses on, her head's turned. K Black says, missed the earlier part of the lie. Did Letecia check into the motel in Pace before or after she dumped the suitcase? So she was in Pensacola. She went to, she checked into the hotel at around midnight, stayed for 4 hours-ish, and then at 4:15, her vehicle, or she was pinged by her phone right around the area that Gannon was dumped. Thank you so much, open-minded. Thank you. Yeah, the date that she did the interview with Spencer, I believe, is January 31st. Let me double check that for you. I think it was the 31st. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the 31st. Thank you, Naomi. Yes, the switch is still not hasn't been recovered from my understanding. Thank you, Tina. So she will have to sit her guilty booty in the courtroom for trial, absolutely. So she can't get away from that. Let me just check here. Yeah, I'm sure she's waiting for the right. Pretty Flutter by Stars says, I bet she's still waiting for her apology because she said she wants everybody to apologize all the things that she said. When Gannon comes home, then everyone was going to be, I'm owed apology, blah, 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 blah. You can message me at it'sacrimeandashame@gmail.com. That's right. She told Gannon they would need to sell stuff to pay for the damage of the carpet. That's right. Didn't Letecia refuse that essay kit test? Yes, she did. She refused it. Was that brought up in court? It wasn't brought up in court today, but I brought that up from tonight from the arrest affidavit, and she refused it. Like she said she couldn't breathe, and then she was stuffing tissue down her pants so she didn't get DNA. They couldn't get her DNA. They took her to the hospital, and then she refused the kit. She just left. Yep, here's my email. There you go. Eduardo didn't come up today, only that. Was there anybody else in the house? If you're able to make it to Colorado Springs for the trial, I would love to meet you. I'm hoping I can make it to the trial. I'm going to do my best to be there, unless I can't. I'm in Canada. I don't know if most of you people, or like if you know that I'm, all the watchers, I'm in Canada. So there's all kinds of restrictions and blah, blah, blah. And I can't do this and I can't do that. So there, I am correct. January 31st. Okay, good. I remembered that. That sounds like another non-muffler guy. I don't know what's going on. Guardo is still considered a missing person at this point. Heather says, y'all still going? I made it downtown 8 and almost back home. Yeah, we're still chatting. It's been 3 hours. This is nothing. You know that. You know that, Heather. We can go on for hours. Sometimes our Zooms go on for 5 hours, but it's awesome because we get to see each other and we chat. And I need an It's a Crime bus so we can all hop the bus and we can drive down. Kimberly says, I so hope you can be there. I hope so too. I really wanted to be there for preliminary. That's just not going to happen. So maybe in the new year, if that's when the trial's going to be, or even before, I would really like to. You're Italian. You can do anything. It's very true. It's very true. That's funny. That was funny. Thank you for the laugh. I needed it. Yesterday I was blubbering like crazy. I at one point I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then I made it through. Joe Wiley says, it's been a while since Lynn has gone this late. I know. Well, it's 10:30. It's my bedtime. I've been up early, but I stay with you for a little bit more. We're having fun chatting tonight. Not earlier, but now we are. Lisa says, I think Letecia's not done her antics yet. No, there's always more with Letecia. Like Mr. Tellini said, she's always been the same Letecia Stauch. Yep. Tina says, let's start a GoFundMe to get Linda in the crime bus to court. It's not that. It's like, how am I going to get there if there's going to be restrictions and I can't cross the border or whatever is happening? Linda knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. Will the 4 DNA profiles found hurt the prosecution? I don't think so. What do you guys think? I don't think so. Thank you, Micah. Or is it Mika? Micah? I don't think so. I think it's pretty damning on everything that they've set forth so far with evidence. I think the judge will put it to trial. then we'll really find out all kinds of things. I mean, it's getting closer to the truth. So it's hard to look anywhere else, especially after everything's happened. Melissa says, I rage cleaned afterwards, then took a 6-pack to my back porch and cried some more, right? It was bad yesterday. It was bad. People are weighing in. I don't think it'll make a difference. Everything's pointing to Letecia. We are family. That's very true here. Some of you have been with me since the beginning. Some are new, and I appreciate every single one of you. Really, really grateful for everyone here, this family on the channel. We created a pretty cool community, and one that's not, even though it's really bad stuff that we hear, but it's pretty good here. There's not many trolls either. I mean, it's pretty great. And our mods are kicking butt, so it's good. Hello. Nice to be on a live. Yes. So sad to hear about Gannon, but with all the evidence, it wasn't ever going to be something easy to hear. No, I knew it was going to be bad. We all did. But I think it's important that this gets out, and I think time will tell, and I'll start digging into some things too. I may or may not do some videos on it. Depends on what I can connect. But there's a couple things that are going, and I'm questioning a couple things. Day one. That's right, Chrissy. Day one. Boom. It's almost 2 years. In December, it'll be almost 2 years on here. I can't believe it. No more ugly yellow wall. Zoom calls make my months. They're fun. Sharon says, I'm south in Texas. This is a long-time subscriber too, long-time family member. I'm south in Texas, but if y'all are going, I'll meet you there. We'll come from Canada. We'll go pick up everybody. Welcome aboard, Barbara. Nice to see you, and welcome to the family. Lori Edwards says, I've been here since 21K. I love how much you pour into everything you do. You truly are amazing, and we appreciate you so much. Gannon, you will forever be missed. We will get justice for you, little man. Absolutely. Nice to see you, Lori, and thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah, Heather says, I cried. Don't tell people I'm still tough reading the tweets. You should have seen Mr. Linda. He's looking at me. He's like, oh boy. I was sobbing like, I gotta do this. It was awful. And then I just thought, oh man, the family is sitting through that. And then that's where the soap belongs, because I was swearing of how, like, you should be there. You should be there. Diana says Canadians are awesome. Sure, I'm going to put that up there. Yeah, wow. Tot says, Linda, if you come to Colorado for the trial, we'll meet you down there. I'm only about an hour away. This case is what brought me to your channel. It's so near and dear to my heart. I got to figure out a way to get there. It's just these measures right now. And if we can go down the border and how that all works, I'll have to figure it out. But at least maybe on September 23rd, when we find out it does go, if they book it right there, then we'll have a good idea, and then we could plan. I could plan. Depends. We'll see. I believe Letecia was married to Al for 5 years, I think. Caroline says, even with the tangible evidence, Leticia's behavior alone seems like it'd be enough. She's something else. Yep. Much love from Kansas. That's funny. A little Italian comes out. You know, got to give a little bit of stuff out there. Megan Boswell's trial is this month. Not trial, I'm sorry, just an appearance. It's just a hearing. That's on the Thursday, the 30th of September is Megan Boswell. And it's just going to be a status hearing because they had to go through extra evidence and all this other stuff. So they're just going to do a status hearing and then it's going to move on to the next one. So I'm always, in all my cases, I'm always figuring out when the next court date is. I have a calendar on it, and then I will report if there's something for sure. Well, it's your first live, Cameron. Welcome. Started watching you when you started the Gannon videos and have watched you ever since. I love your videos. I never caught a live before. This is my first. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. My son is marrying an Italian woman. We love her because she can easily put him in his place and he needs the direction. Oh, we're a little feisty. Sicilian here. Wow, look at that. Yeah, he should be here. He was going to be 13 years old on the 29th. I think it is 29th of September was going to be 13. Now he doesn't get a life. He doesn't never experience teenage years and being on his own, getting married, having kids, like none of that. And how can you, I don't even know, like the injuries alone to him is, I just keep saying horrific. It's horrific. And then all the shenanigans played after that in the profile picture being changed and making things like I don't know. It's maniacal, it's psychotic. I don't know what the word is, but you just think about him and he doesn't get any of that. That was taken away. His sibling, like she does, his siblings, Landon has 2 girls and they don't get to grow up with their big brother. And Landon doesn't get to see any of those. Al doesn't get to see any of those milestones. They don't get to see his smiling face every day. This little boy would offer to go do snow shovel or shovel the snow in the neighbor's yard. He told jokes all the time. He was kind. People loved him at school. He had great friends. He was on the honor roll. He was super smart. And just a bright, kind boy. And in a moment, or maybe long moments for him, it was taken away. And then she can just not feel like going. Screw you. Yeah, and I said earlier tonight, the same time, the same day, plus or minus 1 day, that Gannon was dumped, was when the profile picture was changed on her thing. So it's just like I can't even. Do I think it was premeditated? I think she was already amped up, ticked off. I don't know what her deal was, but some of these things, I don't know. I know she sure took major steps to cover. I don't know about premeditated. At what degree? I mean, you can premeditate it if it was in the morning. I don't know if it would be a long time thing, but I don't know what her problem is, but she's got a big one. Thank you, Mandy. That's very sweet. Yeah, I'm a wreck over this one. In every case I am. But it's been piling up, and children especially I can't handle. I have a hard time handling it. I do the best I can, but I just like, I don't know. My husband jokes with me because we say all the time, man, if I was a medic, I'd be fired the first day. I legit would be fired the first day. He says, yeah, you would. You would. Be like, what happened to the little grandma? I want to make sure she's okay. And what happened to this? And then just cry my head off. That's what I said this morning. I so wanted to be at the preliminary and, to be there as support for Gannon's family. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I'm a mess. What kind of support would I be? Like, it'd be, I was a mess. Yeah, that profile was really not good. Really, really not good. And then when you find out the dates and coincide with it, it's not good. Yeah, premeditation can happen in moments. Exactly. Now, I do want to say this, okay, and I'm not going to get graphic at all, but I wanted to tell you this one point. Remember how I talked about earlier tonight about the gun, and Gannon was shot. She had to have gone to go get the gun in the master bedroom, if that's where it was that day, and then go back downstairs. So what point? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Gannon had it beside his bed. You know what I mean? So when you think about that part, she had to go up the stairs, go grab it, and then come back down the stairs. It's hard. Yeah, I think that day, you know what, you guys make a good point. Maybe that day, I don't think it was like a long premeditation. Not that it matters. I mean, it is what it is at this point where, like, meaning not that it matters, like if it was a long time or short time, it still was. So, yeah, I think that Monday is very damning. And I don't know, there's something about the Petco. Yeah, a minute. Yeah, it could be very, very shortly before. It's true. Yeah, so much more will come out trial. Very, very, very true. Did she have dogs? Yes, two little ones at the time. I know. So Defensive wounds got you. Me too. Okay, I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, then I have to call it night-nights. I'm trying to be really good to my body. Donna Lena says, Linda, I found your channel and we were all hoping to find Gannon. It's been wonderful watching you grow. You're making a difference for many people. Thank you. I very, very much appreciate that. I do try my best. And sometimes it's hard because you wonder, you know, is this helping? Isn't it helping? I'll have to, the profile picture I don't have handy. It took a lot just to even find the date today, but no one seemed to talk about the gunshots. They heard it. I don't know. I think obviously they're just getting enough evidence out there today to move to trial, and then we're going to get all kinds of things. Thank you, Yanni. April says, question, why do you have your subs at 144 plus? Because this is the 144,000 that Lori Daybell thought she was going to lead to the second coming of Christ. And she couldn't because she had to go to jail. So I got there first. So I put it there now, 144 plus, just as a smart ass thing to say, according to Lori. Simple Thing says, I just found your channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out tonight. Yeah. Now you guys are laughing about it. You know what's even funnier? Well, maybe not funnier, but last year, last summer, my odometer hit 144,000 kilometers, and I took a picture of it and chronicled it just to be a smart ass. Hey, you guys, one more question before we leave this, but it's a fun question. Halloween's coming next month. I need your input, what you need me to be for Halloween, because this girl's dressing up. I'm gonna dress up. You guys are liking that. So, well, you gotta laugh, right? I have to have a little bit because, you know, I never understood, like, before I met my husband, I didn't really understand the humor that paramedics have and stuff. And it's kind of like that weird sense of humor, but I totally understand it now. Just they have to cope. And not that I have that kind of sense of humor, but because my husband's a different kind of sense of humor. Sometimes he has the dad jokes, and then sometimes I call them ginger jokes because he's ginger and I love him. But I call them ginger jokes because they're like one step above dad jokes that we call. But anyway, sometimes it's good to laugh. We go 3 hours talking all doom and gloom, and sometimes it's just nice to breathe in, talk about something funny, and, you know, do something like that. So yeah, so you guys got to start thinking about the Halloween costume, because it's gonna be a good one this year. Like, I'm ready. No. Although I could say, quite honestly, Your Honor, quite honestly, Your Honor. It's fun to hang out, right? It's fun. We just need to just chill now. A superhero, your special power, finding the truth speaker. Ooh. Lori worth $1 million. Remember that? $1 million. I bet your husband is the quiet type. I'm married to a talker. Yeah, he's fairly quiet. Well, he's a little stressed out. I gotta say, he's a little stressed out. The other day, okay, so I hope he's not gonna kill me for saying this, but the other day he was stressed out and he had this birthday cake in like a little, like a little portion size. Had gluten, so I couldn't have any, which is good for him. But he comes home and he's eating it in bed. I literally start using a fork and right down the hatch. I kind of looked at him like, everything okay? You never do that. Never do that. Kool-Aid lips. Oh my gosh. Hey, if I can just get a blonde wig, maybe I'll have story time and like switch the outfits through the night. Some people will like that. Maybe the membership, I would be Lori. And with the red Kool-Aid lips, and just laugh at everything, even though everything is terrible. Be Eduardo. Hey, Letecia, found him. He's ordered on Amazon, done. Who here attended the Doomsday Party July 22nd, 2020 at midnight? Yeah, we sure did. Maybe make a bobcat of one of your looks. Might just be Barry. Ramen noodles for Lori's hair. Oh lordy. Be Chad, no way. Could pull off Wonder Woman. Oh, that's nice. I could be a puma. Mr. Linda Bear. I'm already a cougar. I'm an oldie but a goldie. So funny. Somebody called I heard somebody call him a Chadbury bar for Chad. I thought that was funny. The picture behind me, that is Marshall Iwasa. He's still missing. He's Canadian, still missing. He went missing from Lethbridge, and his vehicle ended up 14-hour drive away. Mr. Linda can be peanut butter. You can be the nasty note. Oh, Lord. You guys are going to have some good ones. What I'm going to do is I'll have to put a little post on my community tab, and then you guys can all do that. We'll just keep it there. And any ideas, you just keep going there. Thumbs up with the crown with 144,000 on it. No, I'm not going to be Kiara. No way. Hello, Linda. Nice to see you. Oh, you got to get back to work. Okay. Happy working. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, this is good. You guys are funny. Okay, Mama's back is starting to hurt. So I gotta go. I hope I can get out of the chair. I didn't think about that. Hopefully I can get out of the chair. I don't know. It's not too late to change my Amazon order to red rather than blonde. Well, I'll just use the Kool-Aid. I could just dye it after. Thank you for the laughs, everyone. I appreciate you so much. I look forward to my lives, whether it's the members side or this side. I really, truly do. I'll have to do more of them. Yeah, I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for listening tonight. It was important. I wish it wasn't the case for Gannon and that he was still here. And make sure you send a lot of hearts. I know you have tonight, but a lot of hearts down below, especially if you're rewatching this, if you made it past this 3 hours and 25 minutes. And I will keep you posted and we'll go from there. All right. Good night, everyone. Love you. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and share this out if you can, and spread the word of the info tonight. All right. Thanks so much for the blue hearts. Appreciate you. Thanks to the mods as well. Good night.